He observes the rundown, dirty brick walls of his confinement. His attention turns to the old, rickety wooden furniture that looks like it could break at any moment. A fly buzzes into the room through a grated vent. He laments that it is the little flies that bother him the most. He admits that it is the flies he envies most. With a swift smack, he claps his hands together. He opens his palm to reveal the crushed fly. Yunsu licks the dead fly from his palm. He recoils in disgust, remarking on the bitter taste. Standing alone in the stark room, he reflects on having lived his whole life there. He wipes his hand on his shirt. He confirms to himself that he has spent his life in this underground bunker. A stark title card reads D2. A single light bulb flickers overhead. Yunsu believes that if he ever escapes, the self-introduction he is writing will be useful. He notes that most people start with their name, and he flinches as he prepares to write. He realizes he doesn't know his name, as no one has ever called him by it. He looks at a framed photo on his desk, certain he must have a name. The photo shows a man and a woman, his parents, standing in a lush green forest. A memory flashes of being taken from his mother as an infant. He deduces from the photo that the woman must be his mother. In the photo, his mother smiles while holding him as an infant. He smiles, feeling certain that his mother loved him. His thoughts are cut short by a voice declaring that his mother is dead. An old man with chained glasses confirms that his mother is dead. Startled, Yunsu turns and demands to know how he knew what he was thinking. The man smirks, explaining that she killed herself by jumping off a bridge shortly after Yunsu was born. Yunsu quivers with rage, gripping his pen. The photo shows his father standing beside his mother. Unfortunately, this man is his father. He confirms that his father is the very man who has locked him in the bunker. He explains that the bunker is made up of long hallways with locked doors. All the keys to the locks hang from his father's belt. Yunsu states that his father possesses all the keys. His father reassures him with a sinister smile that he will never let him leave. He then reminds Yunsu that he has already explained why his mother decided to end her life. His father grabs a piece of hardened food from a tray. He explains that Yunsu's mother was afraid because she knew that their home, planet Earth, would eventually meet its demise. His father explains she knew their home planet was doomed. He claims she knew the apocalypse was coming. He crumbles the food over a silent Yunsu's head. He justifies his actions by saying he cannot let his son leave, professing it as an act of fatherly love. Yunsu refuses to let his father send him to his death. He clenches his fist in anger. He calls his father a liar, questioning the story about his mother choosing death out of fear. He yells that his father shouldn't talk about his mother that way and accuses him of using the lie about the apocalypse to keep him locked away. His father states that he doesn't care whether Yunsu believes him or not. He takes the journal, remarking that Yunsu will never need it, and flicks a lighter. Yunsu lunges forward, yelling for him to stop. His father sets the diary ablaze. The diary burns to ash in a metal bin. Yunsu collapses in despair, telling his father he is disgusting and doesn't deserve the title. His father shrugs nonchalantly, insisting he is doing all of this for Yunsu's sake. With simmering rage in his eyes, Yunsu is told it's time to go. They walk down a sterile hallway together. Yunsu notices that he can't hear any other living beings in the hallway. He realizes that throughout the entire bunker, the only people there are him and his father. It is the same routine they follow every day. His father teaches him the same things and puts him through the same training regimen. The one thing that helps him through the monotonous routine is his free time. Every day he is allowed a small period of free time to read books from the library. His favorite books are the ones that describe what the outside world is like. He reaches a hand out, wondering what the sunlight described in the books would feel like. He is certain that sunlight would feel warm and cozy, unlike the sterile lights of the bunker. He imagines himself standing under the sun in a green forest. He pictures himself feeling the grass under his bare feet. He longs to experience a peaceful life and see the beautiful sights of the outside world. He wants to speak with other people and maybe even make friends with some of them. He knows that if he wants to get out, he needs to take action, but his daydream is shattered as his father strikes him. His father strikes him with a brush. He reminds Yunsu that he was only allowed to read during his free time. He glances at the book and identifies it as one about the outside world. Grinning, he calls his son pathetic for still fantasizing about the outside. Standing over his son, the father asks how many times he must tell him that he will never see the outside world. He repeats his warning that the apocalypse will fill the world with bloodshed and screams, leaving nothing but ashes. He insists the underground bunker is the only way for Yoon-soo to survive, chiding him for not understanding reality. Yoon-soo thinks to himself that it's the same repertoire again. Yoon-soo knows his father uses this lie to keep him locked away and to torment him. He vows that one day he will leave this hellhole of a bunker. However, he knows he must be patient. He decides that now is not the time. He resolves to wait for the right moment. He knows he needs to wait for his father to put his guard down. The scene transitions to a training room, where Yoon-soo is panting from exertion. Yoon-soo pants heavily, exhausted from his workout. His father taunts him, saying he won't survive the apocalypse with such little stamina. His father scolds him for only managing 10 push-ups with a heavy stack of weights on his back. The weights crash to the floor. Yoon-soo collapses in exhaustion. His father approaches and offers a hand. Yoon-soo suspiciously asks why he is helping him. The father grabs his hand. He pulls Yoon-soo up with surprising force. His father asks when he ever said he was helping him. He then violently kicks Yoon-soo in the stomach, sending him flying. Yoon-soo is thrown backward into a wall. He crashes through it, landing in a heap of rubble. His father tells him not to trust anyone who extends a helping hand. He warns that humans are the most dangerous thing, especially after the apocalypse comes. He explains this is why he is training him in the art of combat. He explains that if Yoon-soo ever encounters another human, he must be able to take them down with his bare hands. Yoon-soo lies motionless on the floor. His father notes that he's not listening and calls him a weakling for getting knocked out so easily. The father decides to finish up for the day and turns to leave. The keys on his belt clank as he walks. Yoon-soo's eye flashes open. He was only pretending. He sees his opportunity, realizing his father's guard is down. He pushes himself up from the floor. He grabs a sharp piece of the shattered wall. This is the moment he has been waiting for. He lunges towards his father. His plan is to act once his father's guard is down. He will kill him, take the keys, and finally leave this place. With a determined grin, he thinks to himself that he has done it. He thrusts the makeshift weapon forward with incredible speed. The sharp shard stops just short of his father's neck. But it appears he has made a fatal mistake. His father's eye twitches slightly. He failed to realize the truth. The reflection in his father's glasses shows Yoon-soo's attack, revealing the man was aware of it all along. He finally understood that his father would never let his guard down. With impossible speed, his father turns to face him. A young man shudders in his sleep, his face contorted in fear as he has a nightmare about a menacing, ghoulish figure with glowing glasses. In the dream, he grunts with effort, grabbing onto something tightly. He swings a makeshift weapon, aiming for the specter from his nightmare. He turns with a look of alarm. The dream continues, showing him spinning away from his attacker. He swings the weapon with all his might, the motion blurring as it nears its target. The countdown continues, D1. The persistent sound of dripping water echoes in the silence. He jolts awake with a cry. Yoon-soo sits up in his bed inside the dark, brick-walled room. A voice from the doorway tells him he is finally awake. Yoon-soo flinches upon hearing the voice. His father stands in the doorway, sarcastically applauding his failed attack from the previous day. His father asks if he has forgotten his teachings, reminding him that the training is pointless unless he can win with his bare hands. With a smirk, he declares his punishment for using a weapon. Yoon-soo listens with frustration, as he's told his training will be twice as hard tomorrow. His father locks the door, leaving him alone. The father tells Yoon-soo to get to bed, warning him of the difficult day of training that awaits. The single light in the room flickers out. His father's footsteps fade down the hallway. Yoon-soo thinks to himself that there is one thing he knows that his father does not. He explains that when his father turns off the lights, all electricity in the room shuts off, creating total silence. The power unit on the wall deactivates with a soft hum. In this quiet, he listens closely. He places his hands against the cold brick wall. In the silence, he can hear things that are normally drowned out during the day. He can make out the sound of wheels turning and even birds chirping. He can hear the distinct sounds of the city. Through this secret listening, he has learned two important things. First, when his father tells him it is time to sleep, it is actually morning in the outside world. And second, he has learned that the world is still peaceful. This confirms his suspicion. His father's tale of a coming apocalypse is a lie, merely a tool to keep him imprisoned in the bunker. Yun-soo resolves to escape this place one day. And then he will find his mother. Every time he asks about her, his father gives the same answer, that she is dead. But knowing everything else was a lie, he now believes his father is lying about his mother's death as well. He squeezes the blanket, his conviction growing stronger. He thinks to himself that she must be alive. He renews his vow to one day leave this place and reunite with his mother. Elsewhere in the bunker, the father walks down a long hallway. He chuckles quietly to himself. He suddenly stops, flinching as if in pain. He continues down the hallway, reaching for something. A device in his hand buzzes with an incoming call from someone named River. His expression turns serious. He lifts the device to his ear. He answers curtly, asking what it is and reminding the caller that he was only to be contacted in an emergency. Yun-soo sleeps peacefully in his room. He is unaware of the events unfolding outside. His father continues his tense phone conversation. He stands alone in the dimly lit hallway. After listening for a moment, the father simply says he sees and wishes the caller well, telling them to survive. He ends the call, dropping the phone, which shatters on the concrete floor. He collapses to his knees in despair. The father sobs quietly, his body trembling. From a crack in the door, Yun-soo peeks out, an unsettling smile forming on his face as he watches. The father's sobbing turns into a strange, manic laughter that echoes down the hall. Yun-soo senses that something is deeply wrong and wonders what is going on. Suddenly, Yun-soo finds himself wide awake and tied securely to a chair. He demands to know what his father is doing and yells to be released. The man just continues his unsettling laughter. Realizing his father will not listen to him, Yun-soo's neck throbs as he decides he has to act. Determined to free himself, Yun-soo strains against his bonds. The ropes begin to rip under the pressure. He realizes his efforts are working. His father stands over him, watching silently. A sharp command to stop echoes through the room, causing Yun-soo to shudder. He gulps in fear, freezing his efforts. Yun-soo nervously brings up the double training, but his father states that plans have changed. He informs Yun-soo that they will not be doing anything at all today. His father clarifies that from now on, Yun-soo will do absolutely nothing but remain in the chair. Yun-soo protests in disbelief, questioning how this fits with the training to survive the apocalypse. His father coldly tells him to forget the training. Yun-soo wonders what has suddenly changed, knowing he can't do anything if he's tied up. A vision of his mother flashes in his mind, fueling his resolve. He knows if he stays here, he will never see her again. His father demands to know what he is doing. Yun-soo begins to struggle violently against the ropes once more, the fibers starting to snap. With a final pull, the ropes rip apart. As Yun-soo frees himself, his father begins to laugh. The chilling sound builds in intensity. The laughter puts Yun-soo on edge. The father's laughter becomes a maniacal roar. He lunges forward with incredible speed. Yun-soo is caught off guard by the sudden attack. He delivers a powerful blow, sending Yun-soo and the shattered chair flying across the room. Yun-soo hits the floor with a thud. His father calmly walks over to him, reminding him of his earlier instruction. He coldly orders him not to move. Defiantly, Yun-soo just lets out a quiet, mocking laugh. His laughter grows. He continues to struggle. His father strikes him again, knocking him back down. The father stands over him, his own laughter echoing his son's defiance. He kept fighting back, getting knocked down again and again. Yun-soo reflects that he regrets his actions, thinking he should have obeyed and waited for a better opportunity. He refused to lose to his father, even if it meant death. The knowledge of the years of pain and imprisonment fueled his rage. His hatred for his father reached an all-time high. Finally, he breaks free from the last of the ropes. A feeling of joy he had never experienced before washed over him. It was pure elation. He recalls how his father always looked down on him with contempt and ridicule. Now he couldn't wait to see the expression his father would make once he was defeated. Grinning maniacally, he prepares for the final confrontation. He faces his father, ready to fight. There was no doubt in his mind that his father had an angry expression on his face. But as he looked closer, he realized there was something different. He saw a glimpse of a deep-rooted sadness. The unexpected emotion left him stunned and confused. It was a sadness that had been hidden behind the man's sick smile. Yun-soo silently questions why his father is looking at him that way. His father seems to collapse. He reaches out towards him as he falls. His consciousness begins to fade. He lies on the ground, defeated. His last words are a quiet plea for forgiveness. In a dimly lit room, an instructor reminds his student of a critical lesson. Out of all the rules of survival he has been taught, he must always remember the first and most important one. The first rule of surviving the apocalypse is to never leave the underground bunker. The instructor explains that there is no safer place, as the bunker is equipped with everything needed for survival over many years. Attempting to leave would be an act of suicide. He gives a final, chilling warning that the apocalypse will arrive without any notice. The words "never leave" echo in his mind as he regains consciousness. He finds himself on the floor, having been knocked out. When he gets to his feet, he realizes he is completely alone. His father is nowhere to be seen. This is unusual, as his father has never left him alone before, except for one specific time. The only time his father would leave him alone was at bedtime. Ever since the previous day, his father had been acting strangely, and Yun-soo felt that something was definitely wrong. His instincts were telling him something. His instincts warned him that something big was about to happen. His instincts were right. A loud clanking sound echoes through the bunker. One by one, the heavy metal doors begin to unlock and swing open down the long hallway. Stunned, Yun-soo realizes this is the chance of a lifetime. With his father nowhere around to stop him, he doesn't hesitate. He breaks into a sprint, running down the now open corridor. He seizes his opportunity to escape. His father wasn't there to deter him from escaping. Panting as he runs, he races through the bunker. He stops breathless before a narrow passage. He finds a long ladder leading straight up into darkness and realizes this is the way out. He scrambles up the ladder with desperate speed. As he nears the top, he sees a circular hatch and prays that there will be sunlight beyond the exit. With a final push, he shoves the cover open and a brilliant light floods in. He cautiously steps out of the manhole. He is momentarily blinded by the bright light. As his eyes adjust, he is greeted by the sight of a bustling city street and the sound of car horns. Yun-soo stands in awe, surrounded by towering skyscrapers. The sounds of traffic fill the air. He can hardly believe it, he made it out. He is actually outside. A car screeches to a halt and the driver yells at him. The man asks what he's doing in the middle of the road. Yun-soo is ecstatic, exclaiming that he's seen another person, leaving the driver bewildered. Snapping back to reality, Yun-soo realizes this isn't the time to be distracted. He knows he can't let his guard down because his father might come after him. He quickly dashes away. Determined, Yun-soo runs, needing to get as far from the bunker as possible. He has dreamed of this moment his entire life. The moment he would escape the underground bunker and finally be free. He reflects on how just a few minutes ago, he was still trapped in that dark place. He never imagined, not even in his wildest dreams, that the doors would simply open for him. As he continues running, he stops, a question forming in his mind: why did they open? He wonders if there was an error in the security system, but dismisses the thought. He knows there's no way an error would cause the doors to open, as his father is a meticulous man who would never make such a mistake. A chilling possibility enters his mind. What if his father opened the doors on purpose? He quickly rejects the idea, convinced his father would never do that. After all, his father was the very one who insisted he should never leave the bunker. Yun-soo flinches as the sound of laughter breaks his train of thought. Friends chat at a cafe. Students walk together laughing. A family smiles as a child gets a balloon. A group of kids then dashes past him, full of energy and joy. A small smile forms on Yun-soo's face. He was right. One of the children accidentally lets go of their balloon. He realizes everything his father told him was a lie. The outside world is so peaceful. Yun-soo knew it all along. He watches the balloon float higher into the sky. It eventually eclipses the sun as he thinks there is no way the apocalypse could be real. The laughter from the nearby cafe continues. The joyful laughter around him fades into a distorted echo. His father's ominous words return to him: the apocalypse will come without warning. A flock of birds suddenly takes flight in a panic. The people on the street stop and stare up at the sky in confusion. The birds swarm over the city. The balloon continues its ascent, revealing the sun. But behind it looms another, larger planet-like object. The massive dark sphere blocks out the sun, casting a shadow over the city. The people below look up in stunned silence. Yunsu stares up at the impassable sight. From space, a colossal object is seen approaching Earth. It is not a planet but a living entity. It is composed of writhing, fibrous tendrils. A deep rumbling sound fills the air as the entity descends. People on the street panic, wondering what it is and if it's the moon. Yunsu is baffled by their confusion and wonders what they are talking about. He wonders if they don't see the monstrous beings before them. Yunsu sees the horrifying truth, a massive, grotesque creature with a glowing maw and razor-sharp teeth. It is a swarm of these monstrous beings. The sky is filled with a writhing mass of these terrifying creatures. Their forms are tangled together as they descend. They are heading towards the unsuspecting city below. A massive, swirling vortex of the creatures touches down in the city center. His father's voice reminds him of the primary rule: never leave the underground bunker. This rule was meant to maximize his chances of survival. However, his father had also told him there was an exception. The exception applied if the bunker's location was revealed to the enemy. If the bunker was compromised, leaving him exposed and in danger, the rule was to be broken. From that moment forward, Rule 11, never leave the underground bunker, would become null and void. A security panel in the bunker displays a message: remote command, release all door locks. Inside, the once safe hallways are now overrun with horrifying creatures. The monsters let out a deafening roar. On the surface, the crowd stares in utter shock and terror. The full, horrifying scale of the monstrous entity is revealed as it towers over the city buildings. Its mass of writhing bodies and glowing eyes is a truly apocalyptic sight. The crowd stands frozen in terror. Suddenly, a tendril whips out towards them. It wraps around a man in a suit who cries out in shock. He screams in agony as he is violently dragged away. The man is pulled into the creature's spiny maw. The horrified crowd watches, their faces masks of disbelief and fear. The shattered mirrors of a nearby truck reflect the chaos. A moment later, the man's severed head is flung back out. It rolls to a stop on the pavement. The horrific sight shatters the crowd's paralysis. They erupt in screams, finally turning to flee in a desperate panic. The street descends into chaos as people scream in terror. They shove past each other, desperate to escape and crying for help. One young man stands perfectly still, listening to music on his headphones. He remains oblivious to the pandemonium around him. He finally feels someone bump into him and looks around, confused. He looks up just in time to see a monstrous shape falling from the sky. A boulder-like creature crashes into the ground before him with a deafening boom. The creature begins to crackle and unfurl, revealing a hulking, muscular beast. It throws a piece of debris with incredible force. A family screams and runs as rocks rain down around them. Another, more agile creature leaps through the air. It lands with a heavy stomp before spinning to attack. It lashes out at the terrified civilians. A man is grabbed by a monster. The street is littered with bodies. Yunsu watches in horror as the street fills with screams. Someone yells to call the police, but another person cries out that the phone lines are down. As the chaos unfolds, Yunsu stands frozen, the wind whipping past him. He recalls something else his father told him. He had warned him about what would happen when the apocalypse finally arrived. His father had warned that the world would be riddled with bloodshed and screams of anguish. And in the end, nothing but ashes will remain. The idyllic scene of people enjoying themselves is replaced by a gruesome tableau of death and destruction. The countdown clock strikes D1 as a colossal monster looms over the city, its presence dwarfing the skyscrapers. The screams continue as the world is torn apart. There was no warning. The apocalypse was already here, even as the countdown continued. The countdown hits D0. A hulking beast stands amidst the ruins of the city it has just destroyed. The apocalypse was not coming, it was already here. A monstrous entity descends upon the city, its massive form consuming the buildings. Lying on the ground amidst the destruction, Yunsu understands that his father was right about the apocalypse. Crushed by the weight of his thoughts, Yunsu remains on the ground. He chokes out the words, accepting the terrible fact that his mother is gone. The ground shakes as a massive creature stomps through the city, sending the crowd into a panicked frenzy. People flee in terror as the monster roars, its presence causing widespread chaos. The city is in utter chaos, as hordes of people desperately flee from the monstrous creatures causing destruction. Startled, Yunsu is propelled forward as a man with glasses dashes past him. Yunsu looks back in shock, questioning what the man is doing. All around them, people are screaming and fleeing in a desperate attempt to escape the chaos. The man with glasses urgently yells for everyone to run and not stop. The ground continues to rumble violently. Yunsu flinches at the sound and the shaking. He breaks into a run, trying to escape. He follows another young man who is also fleeing in terror. The young man finds himself surrounded by terrifying monsters. He is quickly engulfed by the creatures as Yunsu watches, gasping in shock with a pounding heart. The man with glasses darts around a corner. Yunsu follows, his face filled with panic. He realizes in horror that there are monsters ahead of them as well. The man tells him to follow and leaps over a railing to escape. Yunsu lands on the other side, continuing his desperate flight. Desperate screams for help fill the air as people are attacked by the creatures. Yunsu watches as a man is captured by a monster right in front of him. A man is snatched by a creature's tendrils. Others are seen being absorbed into a monstrous mass. Yunsu runs with a determined expression, urged on by the people behind him. A woman looks on in shock, realizing that children are among the fleeing crowd. A massive, hairy creature rumbles past her. The crowd continues to flee in sheer panic. The two of them run across a wide, seemingly empty bridge. They run with all their might, the bridge stretching out before them. Yunsu pants, struggling to keep up. The giant, hairy monster begins to cross the bridge behind them. People on the bridge are caught and consumed by the creature. The man yells at Yunsu to keep running, stressing that this is the only way out. The long bridge is littered with abandoned cars, and the colossal monster begins its advance across it. The creature consumes cars as it moves along the bridge. Yunsu continues to sprint, his face a mask of fear. Another monstrous form rumbles forward, joining the pursuit. The man with glasses runs ahead, seemingly unfazed. Yunsu looks back in terror, shouting that the monsters are right behind them on the bridge. A small, grotesque creature with 3 glowing eyes is wrapped tightly around his ankle. Yunsu grunts with effort, trying to pry the creature off. He realizes he needs to get it off him immediately. The man with glasses lifts a heavy rock over his head, ready to bring it down. The rock connects with the creature with a sickening crunch. The creature screeches in pain as it is sent flying. It falls from the bridge into the water below. Yunsu grabs his leg in pain while the man watches. His leg quivers from the injury. The bridge starts to shake and both of them look alarmed. The horde of monsters crashes through the cars on the bridge. The colossal creature continues its relentless advance across the bridge. He wobbles as he tries to stand on his injured leg. He grits his teeth, knowing he has to get out of there. He thinks to himself that he has to get out of here. He forces himself to run, panting heavily. He senses the monsters getting closer and closer. A jolt of pain shoots through his leg. He falls to the ground, unable to run any further. He resigns himself to his fate, believing he can't get away from the creatures. The man with glasses calmly stands before him. The man tells the fallen Yunsu to go on ahead, refusing to run away himself. He states that Yunsu could survive if he continues on his own. Yunsu urges the man to run away, just like he always has. The memory shows the man as a small child, trapped and alone. The boy's eyes widen in fear. His fear turns to angry determination as he grips the bars. A voice in the memory accuses him of being neglected from the very beginning. The boy looks down in despair. In the present, the man's shadow looms over Yunsu. The man offers his hand, telling Yunsu to get up. Yunsu looks up in disbelief. He yells at the man, asking what he's doing and telling him to save himself. Yunsu shouts that even if he ran, he couldn't get away from the monsters. The man confidently states that Yunsu can survive and that he knows how. Yunsu looks at him, completely bewildered. He mutters that there's no way it's possible. The man's face is set with determination. He grits his teeth. He takes a firm hold of Yunsu's hand. He pulls Yunsu to his feet. He tells him to run. He pats Yunsu's leg. Yunsu starts to ask about the plan but is cut off. Yunsu looks down, realizing the man placed something in his hand. The man yells that there is no time and that he just needs to get away from the bridge. Yunsu agrees and runs. He sprints away as instructed. He runs, panting from the effort and pain. He limps his way past the abandoned cars. He continues his solo escape across the bridge. He finally makes it to the other side. He stands at the end of the bridge. He turns to look back. His expression is one of confusion and concern. He sees the support structures of the bridge starting to break apart. The bridge rumbles as he stares in disbelief. The bridge's foundation starts to crack. The metal support cables snap under the strain. The middle section of the bridge, along with the monsters on it, begins to fall. The broken sections of the bridge fall away. The entire structure collapses into the chasm, leaving Yunsu stranded on the other side. He stands alone on the edge of the broken land. His face is a mask of shock and confusion. He calls out, asking for his father. Standing alone on the edge of a chasm where a bridge once stood, Yunsu stares at the ruined city in disbelief. He questions what just happened, the reality of the bridge's destruction sinking in. His father's last words echo in his mind, a promise that he could survive. He recalled his father's confident assertion that he knew how Yunsu could make it. Standing at the precipice, Yunsu wonders if this desperate, isolating act was his father's plan for his survival all along. He screams into the void, demanding to know why his father would do this for him now, after a lifetime of abuse. His legs tremble uncontrollably from the shock and emotional turmoil. The initial shock gives way to a profound sense of loss. He acknowledges that he survived. But now he is utterly alone, questioning what comes next. He feels trapped, wondering what purpose he has to live for now. He remembers his past, a life spent dreaming of finally reaching the outside world. He reaches a hand towards a glimmer of light, a symbol of that long-held hope. The peaceful life he imagined has been destroyed. The beautiful scenery he longed to see is gone. And most importantly, his one lifelong wish is gone with it. His one lifelong wish was symbolized by a cherished family photograph. Now it is just a painful memory, consumed by the flames of the apocalypse. Tears stream down his face as he grieves. His sorrow turns back to confusion as he thinks of his father. He wishes he could ask him why he would go to such lengths to save him. He is left alone in this desolate hellscape with nothing. Letting out a final, agonizing shout, Yunsu screams his despair into the ruins, questioning what he is supposed to live for now. His mind flashes back to the bridge, to the moment his father grabbed his hand. It was an unexpected and firm connection in the midst of chaos. He clenches his fist, the memory still fresh. He recalls his father pressing something into his palm. He slowly opens his hand to reveal a small, crumpled piece of paper. His eyes widen as he stares at the paper. Before he can process it, a loud thud erupts from the ground behind him, signaling a new threat. A hulking, rock-like monster bursts from the earth with a roar. Yunsu flinches in terror. The creature's rocky exterior crackles. Without a second thought, he dashes away. Straining with effort, Yunsu grabs a piece of metal debris to use as a weapon. He looks back in fear as the monster stomps closer. Its heavy footsteps shake the ground. The monster leaps from the ruined bridge. It soars through the air directly towards him. It lands with a heavy thud, knocking Yunsu off his feet. Yunsu struggles to get up, his body quivering with exhaustion. He realizes he can barely stand on his injured leg. He is quickly running out of energy as the creature looms over him. He sees no way to escape the monster. Its eyes glow menacingly. He collapses in despair, accepting that this is how he will die. In that moment of utter hopelessness, believing he had nothing left to live for, his hand instinctively tightens around the crumpled paper his father gave him. A single tear drips from his face onto the paper. His eyes, wide with desperation, reflect a sudden, dawning realization. He unfolds the note to read a shocking message: his mother is alive. As the monster continues its relentless approach, he questions why his father would only tell him this now. With newfound purpose, Yunsu pushes himself to his feet. A fierce desire to live ignites within him. He refuses to give up. He will survive and find his mother. The monster lets out a deafening roar. The terrifying reality of his situation crashes down on him, and he realizes he cannot afford to be paralyzed by fear. His father's voice echoes from a memory of a lesson. He had explained that once the apocalypse began, humans would not be able to survive. This was because they lacked the necessary strength and knowledge. As the monster stomps closer, the memory continues. His father warned that even if some humans were lucky enough to survive the initial chaos, they wouldn't make it through the constant perils that followed. The monster roars, its presence overwhelming. Yunsu, remembering his father's grim assessment, feels a surge of defiance and questions what he should do now as the creature continues its advance. He screams at the memory of his father, asking how he is supposed to survive now and questioning if he should just stand still and accept death. The monster swings a massive fist at him. As the blow is about to connect, his father's voice cuts through his panic, asking if he has truly forgotten everything he was taught. A flood of memories rushes through Yunsu's mind, countless hours of grueling training, the muscle memory of combat ingrained in him. His body reacts instantly, all his training culminating in a single fluid motion as he dodges the monster's powerful punch. Using the monster's momentum, he slides under its arm, narrowly avoiding the attack and repositioning himself. Panting from the exertion, Yunsu stands ready. He faces the enraged monster that has now turned to face him again. His father's voice returns, reminding him that he is different from ordinary humans. Yunsu's body shudders, not from fear, but from a surge of adrenaline and latent power. The voice clarifies what makes him different. He is one of the few who knows how to survive. He feels a change within himself. His resolve hardens. Yunsu pivots, settling into a low stance. His eyes are sharp, focused, and ready for battle. He glares with unwavering intensity as the monster charges at him again. He recalls that throughout his life, he has been preparing for this. He has endlessly trained for this very moment. Sliding low to the ground, he grabs a sharp piece of debris, clenching it tightly. He knows he must use all the knowledge he has gained. With his weapon in hand, he dashes forward. He closes the distance with the monster. He is determined to fight his way out. He must fight his way through this apocalypse. With his eyes locked on his target, he prepares to strike. His grip on the makeshift weapon tightens. With a final surge of power, he leaps onto the monster, ready to deliver a decisive blow. He knows that in the end, he will survive. Strange, monstrous creatures patrol the empty streets, their forms alien against the backdrop of urban decay. The city lies in ruins, a desolate landscape of rubble and shattered buildings under a hazy sky. Amidst the wreckage, a small group of survivors huddles together, their faces etched with exhaustion and despair. One survivor laments that it has already been 4 days, questioning the absence of the police. Another acknowledges their luck in finding a hideout but voices the group's growing fear. Their food is gone and they have nowhere else to go. A man with light-colored hair tries to offer some words of encouragement. He is quickly shut down by another survivor. The second man tells him to stop, bluntly stating that he is making everyone uncomfortable. The first man is taken aback, defending that he was speaking quietly. The irritated survivor, looking stressed, clarifies that it is not about the volume. Dismissing the conversation, the annoyed man turns to leave. He mutters his frustration as he walks away. However, a young woman with blue hair stops him and asks a question. She asks if he has already searched the entire area. He confirms that he has, but there was no food to be found anywhere. He sighs, emphasizing that they need to find something if they are all going to survive. Suddenly, the man remembers a place he has not looked yet. The young woman offers to go check, urging him not to lose hope. Visibly moved by her kindness, he thanks her sincerely. He tells her that with everyone else so tense from running from monsters, no one has been willing to help. He praises her character, saying she is the only one actively trying to help the group. She demurs, insisting she is not that nice of a person. He remains positive, rallying them to do their best to escape. She approaches 2 other survivors sitting amongst the rubble. She asks the pair if they have seen any food. The woman reaches for a bag. She confirms that they found something in a pile of debris earlier. The girl's face lights up with hope. Her expression quickly turns to shock as the pair begin eating it greedily themselves. She protests, reminding them they had all agreed to share any food that was found. The woman callously dismisses the agreement, saying it was just an idea from the boring old man. The girl argues back, pointing out that just yesterday they were eating food that others had shared with them. Her male companion feigns ignorance, claiming he cannot remember. Frustrated, the girl grits her teeth. She threatens to tell the man from before what they have done. The man rises menacingly. He cracks his neck and challenges her to go ahead, daring her to see what will happen. He makes it clear he will not let her. The girl stands her ground, challenging him to try and stop her. The man scoffs, confident she cannot catch him, and boasts that his one skill is being able to outrun anyone. Resigned, the girl mutters that she tried to be nice, and begins to walk away. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoes through the ruins. The other two survivors flinch in alarm. The man asks if that was a scream, and his companion confirms she heard it too. She dismisses it as being far away and likely not a threat. The man agrees, relieved that he was scared for nothing. His relief vanishes as his eyes widen in shock. He sees the blue-haired girl crouched in a corner. She is trembling with fear. He laughs cruelly, taunting her about where all her earlier confidence has gone. He continues to mock her, calling her a scaredy cat. He points out that she is shaking too much to run away. The girl remains frozen, looking down at something on the ground. The kind man from before returns, his attention drawn by the commotion. Finding the girl, he asks if she looked around. She quietly confirms that she did. He eagerly asks if she found anything. The girl hesitates. She clutches a piece of food hidden inside her hoodie pocket. As she struggles for an answer, her stomach lets out a loud, betraying gurgle. She lies, claiming she found nothing. Though disappointed, the man tries to remain optimistic. He proclaims that as long as they are alive, they have time to find food. Unseen behind him, a monstrous single-eyed creature rises from the rubble. With a deafening boom, the monster strikes, its massive body crushing the man. She trembles in terror. Paralyzed by fear, she stares at the gruesome scene as the monster looms over the fallen man. The man's face is a mask of shock and horror in his final moment. The man's hand seems to reach for her, a silent plea for help. Overcome with terror, the girl apologizes and dashes away, leaving him to his fate. The man's expression shifts to one of utter disbelief and despair as she abandons him. The man lets out a final scream of agony. As she flees, the girl shouts back that she told him she was not a good person. Her words are swallowed by the chaos as she runs for her life. The other two survivors are alerted by the commotion and start running, horrified to see a monster. Their escape is cut short when another massive creature appears directly in the fleeing girl's path. Seeing this, the woman tells her companion that it is their chance to escape once the girl is caught. She sneers, questioning the girl's foolishness for running directly towards the monster. Instead of stopping, the girl accelerates towards the looming monster. As its massive limbs slam down towards her, she leaps into the air with surprising agility. In a display of incredible parkour skill, she vaults over the monster's attacking appendages. She rolls to safety, narrowly avoiding being crushed. She continues her fluid movements, landing safely on the other side. The two onlookers can only stare, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. She lands gracefully atop the monster's arm, pulls out the stolen food, and takes a defiant bite. She then dashes off, leaving them behind. The man recalls her earlier boast about outrunning people. He realizes with horror that she was serious, just as the monster turns its attention towards them. As distant screams fill the air, the girl finds a secluded spot. Panting heavily from her escape, she tries to catch her breath. She collapses against a wall. She lets out a sigh of relief, believing she is safe for the moment. Her relief is short-lived, as she notices someone else is hiding in the darkness with her. Startled, she lets out a sharp shriek. In her panic, she shoves the other person out from their hiding spot. An unconscious young man with dark hair thuds to the ground. He groans, and she realizes with surprise that he is still alive. A strange, chittering sound echoes from nearby. The chittering grows louder as a grotesque, insect-like monster emerges from the shadows. The girl presses herself against the wall, her heart pounding as she wonders if it heard her scream. The creature continues its slow, menacing advance. As the monster draws closer, the unconscious man begins to stir. Seeing this, the girl quickly grabs him by his shirt. With adrenaline-fueled strength, she hoists the man onto her back, preparing to make a run for it as the creature looms just outside their hiding spot. A monstrous creature rumbles away through the dilapidated city streets. Hiding, the young woman whispers to herself that she thinks it is finally gone. Despite her words, she remains frozen with terror. The young woman looks down at the black-haired man, relieved that they survived. Suddenly, she screams and jumps away from him. He slowly gets to his hands and knees, facing the girl who has backed away. He glares at her, shouting his questions in a panic. The girl looks back, confused and startled by his hostility. He clenches his teeth, his mind racing as he focuses on a crucial memory. He stands over the girl, vowing to remain guarded. She protests her innocence, explaining her actions were to protect him. A memory of his father's words flashes in his mind, warning him not to trust anyone. He internalizes this lesson, believing his father was right and that trust is a fatal mistake. The girl is shocked as he dismisses her explanation. He suddenly falls to his knees, clutching his stomach, much to her surprise. He trembles, muttering about how hungry he is. He thinks about how the last time he ate was 5 days ago, and he is at his limit. He reflects on his dire situation, having gone into a deep rest to save energy, only to be disturbed. The girl blurts out that she does not have any food on her. The young man looks up, surprised. He looks up from the ground, confused by her outburst and pointing out that he did not ask. She waves her hands dismissively, trying to play it off as a simple observation, but a pastry rustles and drops from her pocket. He stares at the object that fell. He points directly at the fallen object, demanding to know what it is. The girl stammers, caught off guard. He stares intently, his suspicion growing. A close-up shows the wrapped pastry lying on the ground. He clutches his stomach, noting the intense hunger the object inspires in him. The girl looks terrified as he directly asks if it is food. She flatly denies it. He wonders aloud if he is seeing things, and she quickly agrees, trying to dismiss the object as not being food. The girl internally celebrates, thinking she can talk her way out of the situation. The young man's expression darkens as he fiercely calls her a liar, questioning her assumption that he would trust her. He explains his cynical worldview, asserting that lying is a fundamental part of human nature. The girl panics, realizing with dread that his paranoia is worse than she imagined. He is now sure of it. Her reaction tells him all he needs to know, that it is definitely food. His hunger and desperation fueling him, he decides he must have the food. With a hardened expression, he concludes that he will take it from her if he has to. She relents and offers him the food. She breaks the food in half, saying she is only sharing because he looks hungry. He takes his share, questioning her motives for sharing precious resources. She then lays out her terms, demanding he repay her with interest. He realizes her plan and accepts the deal. He eats the food, reflecting on the cunning nature of humans. After finishing, he turns to leave, but she calls out to him. He announces it is time to move on. The girl frantically questions his decision to venture out into the dangerous city. He tells her he knows the area, but she yells back that monsters are everywhere. He stops walking. He asks her to confirm her knowledge of the area. She stammers that she does, having lived there all her life. He then asks for the location of the subway station. They walk through the ruins. As they walk, she wonders how she became a guide for this bonehead. She laments that if she had known this would happen, she never would have shared her food. A thoughtful, almost pensive expression suggests there might be more to her feelings. She questions his determination to reach the subway station, and he replies that it is because it is safe. He adds that it contains necessary survival supplies. He also mentions it has escape routes from monsters. He clenches his fist, hinting at the most critical reason. He explains the key advantage of the subway: the underground terrain masks their presence from monsters. She finds him strange, possessing secret knowledge yet being ignorant of common things. She recalls his confusion over the bread. He declares that they have arrived. She looks around in confusion, as the location does not resemble a subway entrance. He confronts her, asking if she is sure this is the right place and voicing his suspicion. She snaps back, clarifying that she is looking for the entrance, not the station itself. She continues to search for the entrance. An older man in a lab coat suddenly appears, putting a finger to his lips to silence them. The man explains he was drawn by the sound of their footsteps and voices. The young man eyes him suspiciously and asks for his identity. The older man defers introductions for the moment. He beckons them to follow, and the girl nervously asks where they are going. He turns back and asks if this is not the place they were seeking. They peer down into the entrance. He guides them down a makeshift entrance into the underground. He confirms that this is the place. The young man is taken aback by what he sees. They are greeted by the sight and sound of a bustling crowd of people who have taken refuge in the station. The girl exclaims in surprise at the sheer number of people gathered there. The young man remains silent and observant. The older man remarks that he did not think so many would be hiding there. He recalls a traumatic memory from the start of the outbreak. The memory is of him being caught in a stampede of terrified people. He remembers the sudden appearance of monsters and the ensuing chaos. Fleeing with a terrified crowd, he was able to find a safe place. He tells the two newcomers that finding the station was a stroke of luck. The man explains their occasional forays to the surface for supplies. The young man glances around. He thinks to himself that the station is too crowded to serve as a personal base. He scans the diverse group of survivors. He sees people who have given up all hope. He notices a man shuddering in fear, certain the monsters will find them. In contrast, he sees a tougher-looking group showing their evil natures by shoving others. He watches dispassionately as someone is pushed and cries out. And then his gaze continues to scan the crowd. His gaze falls on a mysterious hooded figure whose thoughts are a complete unknown. He sees others with blank, unsettling faces. He feels surrounded by potential threats and believes a large group only increases his personal danger. However, he continues to observe. He walks through a mental landscape of the people, feeling separate from them. He feels confident that out of everyone here, none pose a real danger. He stands calmly, trusting his innate ability to sense a threat. He recalls the dangerous aura he felt from the monsters. He also remembers feeling that same intense danger from his father. Looking at the current survivors, he finds they lack that threatening presence. Based on this assessment, he decides it is safe enough to stay here for now. He believes that no one in the station is strong enough to even scratch him. The older man gets their attention and introduces himself as Bayam H. Wang, a doctor. He explains he was above ground searching for medicine when he found them. He chuckles that his search was not very fruitful and then asks for their names. Haru and the young man listen to the doctor. The girl claps her hands together and says her name is Haru. The doctor recognizes her uniform and identifies her school. She confirms and asks how he knew. He explains that his hospital was located just across from the school. Haru is puzzled, wondering when a hospital was built near her school. The doctor turns his attention to the young man. He addresses the young man, commenting on his appearance. He gestures towards the young man's dirty, bare feet. The doctor apologizes for his bluntness. He then asks the young man for his name. The young man thinks for a moment, the concept of a name seeming foreign. He states quietly that he does not have a name. The doctor looks surprised by his answer. The nameless young man states he has never had a name. The doctor considers this for a moment. He reassures him that it is okay and he does not need to tell him now. A man with reddish-brown hair runs up to the doctor in a panic, exclaiming that things have gotten worse. The doctor approaches the injured man, who is being tended to by another survivor. The injured man expresses his relief at the doctor's arrival. The doctor's expression is grim as he assesses the injury. He observes the blood-soaked bandages, realizing the man's condition is deteriorating rapidly. The doctor gravely informs the patient that surgery is necessary to prevent infection. He prepares to open his coat. He dramatically reveals a neatly organized kit of surgical instruments inside his coat. He grabs a disinfectant bottle, preparing to begin the operation. The young man watches the doctor, remembering something he read in a book. He remembers reading that doctors work for payment. He questions what payment could even mean in a world where money is worthless. He confronts the doctor, asking what he is being paid to heal this person. The others look on in shock. The injured man looks up, confused by the mention of payment. The doctor looks shocked by the question of payment in such a dire situation. He leans over the patient and begins wrapping the wound, stating that it is his duty as a doctor. He reassures the young man that there is no need to worry. The doctor reassures the patient that his surgeries are always successful. The patient, moved to tears, embraces the doctor in a grateful hug. The nameless young man watches the scene, unable to comprehend the doctor's actions. He questions the logic of helping someone for nothing, viewing it as a foolish act. The young man squints, trying to understand if the doctor's motives are genuine. The doctor tells the patient to get some rest so the wound can heal. The patient gratefully thanks him. A close-up reveals his name tag, which clearly states he is a veterinarian from an animal hospital. The vet prepares to begin, warning the patient it may hurt. The patient, now restrained, asks to be untied for a moment. The vet denies his request. He holds a scalpel and warns him of the danger of moving during the operation. The patient yells in terror, pointing out that the doctor is a veterinarian. The vet nonchalantly reassures him, stating that humans are animals too. The patient thrashes wildly, demanding to be released. The vet turns away, telling his assistant that they will need an anesthetic. The assistant tells the vet that finding an anesthetic is impossible. The vet spots a brick. He picks up the brick. With the brick in hand, the vet apologizes to the terrified patient. The young man's expression is grim as he concludes that his initial assessment was wrong and that humans are, in fact, truly dangerous. In a dark, quiet place, a young man with black hair sits down, relieved that it is finally quiet. He reflects on the decision to leave, knowing it was a good thing they left that place and there was no reason to stay and watch the chaos unfold. Now alone, he wonders what to do next. All he has is a picture his father left him. It's a photo from his childhood, and on the back, a note reveals that his mother is still alive. But he feels he is at a dead end, with no other evidence to track her down. He re-examines the picture, remembering that something about it always seemed off. In the background, there were strange flowers that didn't seem to belong with the rest of the scenery. This had puzzled him even back in the underground bunker. Despite looking through many books, he had never seen anything like them. He realizes that if the flower is unique to a specific region, he could use the picture to find out where it was taken. To do that, he resolves to find someone who can recognize the flower. This picture is his only clue, and he must protect it so he can ask any humans he encounters about it. A buzzing sound distracts him. He instinctively smacks the insect out of the air and catches it. He licks it off his hand. He recoils in disgust at the bitter taste. In a fortified area, a woman reports to her captain that she has gathered everyone up. The captain turns with a determined look and announces it is time to begin. He orders everyone to be gathered in one place. A large crowd is herded together, with the instruction to use force on anyone who refuses. The crowd murmurs, wondering why they were gathered for an announcement. One man angrily shouts, demanding an explanation for being ordered around. The captain responds with a cold, intimidating glare. The man who shouted is silenced, shuddering in fear. The captain reflects on his ability to see the deep abyss that lies within a person. He can perceive what they are hiding in their hearts. He can feel it just by looking into their eyes. What he sees within them is fear. He knows people hide their fear behind a facade of confidence and strength, but in his presence, their true feelings are exposed. The captain strikes the defiant man, asserting that in his presence, fear is bound to rise to the surface. The man collapses to the ground. The other survivors watch in shock. The captain looms over the fallen man. He grabs the man and smirks, saying this is right. He declares that this display of fear is what he wanted to see. He demands to see more. He wants to witness the depths of the man's abyss and his true, fearful self. The man quivers on the floor, begging him to stop. The captain's assistant interrupts, pointing out that a few people are missing from the gathering. The captain turns, annoyed by the news. She specifies that an old man, a young boy and girl, and an injured man are all unaccounted for. Wiping his hands, the captain demands to know what happened, reminding her of his order to gather everyone. The assistant explains that the man with the chicken comb hairstyle was in charge of that area, but he disappeared without listening to orders. The captain sighs in frustration, remarking that he can never guess that man's next move. He decides he will go himself. As he leaves to talk to the cowards, his assistant asks what to do with the beaten man. The captain orders him to be tied up and left above ground. The man pleads against the harsh punishment. Elsewhere, the young man from before twitches and groans, realizing he fell asleep. He has been on guard against monsters for days and hasn't had a chance to fully rest. He wakes up in a strange, shifting place, wondering where he is. He can feel himself walking. However, there is no solid ground beneath his feet. It feels as if the space itself is swallowing him whole. He considers a terrifying possibility. Perhaps he has already been swallowed. The tendrils of the dark space wrap around him, pulling him deeper. He struggles against the encroaching darkness. He reaches out desperately. With a jolt, he wakes up. He realizes it was just a nightmare, but notes that it all felt incredibly real. He finds himself surrounded by several men. He asks who they are. The leader of the group gives him an ultimatum. He has 2 minutes to reach the central area of the station. If he fails, he will be kicked out. One of the men chuckles, suggesting he get moving, as even sprinting will barely get him there in time. The young man rises to his feet. The captain reflects that he was curious to see who was brave enough to hide, but now feels he got his hopes up for nothing. The captain flinches, surprised by the young man's response. The young man pats his neck. He rubs his neck, a gesture that seems to steel his resolve. He stands firm, as if facing down a horde of monsters. Staring intently, the young man asks how the captain plans on doing that. The captain's subordinate scoffs at his audacity. The captain, however, grins and says this is what he wanted. The captain challenges the young man, eager to see the deep abyss that hides behind his eyes. The subordinate warns the young man that he is screwed and should have started running when he had the chance. Unfazed, the young man raises 2 fingers and states it will take 2 seconds. He clarifies that 2 seconds is all it's going to take for him to take them down. The subordinate bursts out laughing, finding the kid's confidence hilarious. He pulls out a knife and asks if he is done yapping now. Just as he prepares to attack, the captain places a hand on his shoulder, stopping him. Suddenly, the young man panics, realizing his picture is gone. The captain's subordinate reveals the photo, asking if this is what he's looking for. He explains that he didn't expect to find anything of value in the boy's raggedy clothes, and he was right, as all he found was an old picture. A murderous look fills the young man's eyes, as he warns that if the picture is damaged in the slightest, he will kill him. The subordinate is visibly shaken by the threat. The captain takes the picture and holds it between his fingers. He threatens to rip it to shreds if the young man takes 1 step closer. With his only clue held hostage, the young man is powerless as the subordinate marks his lost confidence and brutally attacks him. The young man curses himself for letting his guard down, realizing that humans are even more dangerous than monsters. The subordinate asks the captain if they are kicking him out now. The captain says no, surprising his subordinate. The captain explains that after looking into the young man's eyes, he saw that he was different from the rest, with a deep abyss behind his eyes. The abyss was deeper than he had ever imagined. He could not see a thing. Deciding to keep an eye on him, the captain tells his subordinate to hold on to the picture. The captain orders his subordinate to keep the picture on him at all times while watching the boy. The subordinate questions the necessity of such measures for a kid, but the captain insists it is an order. The subordinate recalls the unnerving aura the boy had when he started walking towards him. He dismisses it, chuckling to himself, and believing that as long as he has the picture, the boy is powerless. A girl with blue hair appears, confused by the scene. She demands to know what is going on and what they have done to the young man. The captain notes her arrival, remarking that they have found the other one and won't have to search far. The girl becomes nervous when she realizes they were looking for her. The captain orders her to head to the central area, and she flinches in fear. The subordinate chuckles, telling the young man he will see him soon and will take good care of the picture before leaving. The girl watches them go, then approaches the beaten young man on the floor. She reaches out a hand, asking if he is all right. The young man smacks her hand away. She shouts at him, asking why he is taking it out on her when she was just trying to help. He glares, stating that he does not need anyone's help, and tells her to move. Angered, she declares that her name is Haru, and he should at least remember that. He coldly asks for one good reason why he should bother remembering her name. Later, the two of them stand awkwardly beside the veterinarian. The vet asks Haru if something happened between her and the young man. She vehemently denies it, muttering that she should have known he was a bonehead from the start, which makes the vet realize that something did happen. The young man scoffs internally, thinking he would never accept help from another human. He recalls his father's warning, when someone extends a helping hand, do not trust them. He believes all humans are his enemy. He glances at the subordinate holding his picture, calculating that he could take it by force, and even if it gets ripped, he could piece it back together. But he hesitates, not wanting to ruin it. He reminds himself that the picture is the only possession he brought out of the underground bunker. He decides there is no need to be hasty, he just needs to wait for a moment when the man lets go of the picture. The captain addresses the gathered crowd, announcing it is time to begin. He tells them they have two choices, follow his lead or not. He promises that if they choose to follow him, they will not have to worry about being kicked out of the station. He then points to the bound man from earlier. He declares that this man attempted to cause chaos in their only shelter and will be kicked out. He assures the crowd that if they stand with him, they will not be treated like this traitor. The captain clarifies that he is not forcing them to follow his lead, but warns those who choose not to must remember one thing. He declares that his word is law here. Hearing this, the crowd of survivors begins to move, falling in line behind him. Dr. Hwang watches the scene unfold, concluding that in the end the strong rule over the weak. He feels they have become a lawless land, so this outcome is no surprise. He understands the captain's words are not a choice but a threat. Anyone who does not accept him as leader will end up like the exiled man. He acknowledges that siding with the captain is the only logical decision for survival. But then he smiles. Having lived a long life, he feels he can afford to rebel a little. He knows that if he sides with the captain, there may be times he cannot help a patient in need. Therefore, he decides to stay right where he is. He resolves to stand his ground, even if it means being alone. Surprised, he asks Haru why she is not going with the others, and she simply says no. He urges her to go, telling her it would be a foolish decision to stay. Haru smiles and says she does not know about that. She points behind him, revealing that it looks like a few others are also willing to make this foolish decision. The doctor turns to see a small group of people, including the nameless young man, standing with them in defiance. A young woman with curly hair and glasses looks distressed, asking why no one woke her up. In a fit of rage and despair, she screams that she didn't want to stay here. She turns, frantically warning the others that they are now targets and will surely be tortured. Someone tries to reassure her, suggesting their captors wouldn't go that far. With a desperate grin, she asks if they really think so. A girl with dark hair and freckles calmly speculates that they'll probably just be starved or fed to monsters. The woman with curly hair is horrified by this possibility. An older man screams in terror, realizing they are screwed. He dashes off in a panic. The panicked older man is startled when a small girl runs into him. Her caretaker, a man with glasses, apologizes for not keeping a closer watch on her. The older man kneels, kindly telling the girl to be sure to listen to her dad. The little girl stomps her foot, murmuring to herself. She suddenly headbutts the older man, shouting that the man with her is not her dad. She defiantly declares that her real dad is out looking for her and her mom. The caretaker explains that she isn't his daughter, but a child he found who was separated from her parents. He tells the man he decided to look after her until she can find her family. A guard stops the young black-haired man, telling him he cannot leave the room. Another guard states that anyone who leaves will be punished severely, as per the captain's orders. A third guard chuckles, adding that they won't turn a blind eye just for a kid. A man distributing rations tells the group they only get what they're given and will be checked for extra meals. The woman with curly hair is shocked, complaining that their portion is far less than what others got. The distributor states that it is the captain's orders. He reasons that since they are just cooped up in a room, they don't need much food. The aroma of food drifts through the air. The scent reaches a sleeping man. He is jolted awake. The man with the mohawk rises, commenting on the good smell and wondering if it's dinner time. One of the ration distributors notes that they're done, but he didn't see Chicken Comb. The other man explains that Chicken Comb is the captain's left-hand man. Chicken Comb looms over them, and one man thinks to himself that he looks like trouble. One man explains that Chicken Comb barely follows orders but is still the captain's left-hand man, suggesting there's more to him than they know. The other man adds that he heard Chicken Comb is a vicious thug who murders people with a smile. The little girl dashes through the corridor. One of the men advises the other to avoid messing with Chicken Comb. She collides with him, sending his food tray flying. The little girl sits on the floor, covered in spilled food. She looks up with tear-filled eyes, terrified. The spilled food splashes onto Chicken Comb's vest as a warning is recalled. Anyone who angers him will wish for a worse fate. He grins menacingly at the child, telling her it's dangerous to run around. The girl shudders as he points out what she did to his vest. He looks at the spilled food and tells her to come with him. The two distributors watch in horror, one pointing and exclaiming in fear. The onlookers believe the rumors were true and that he is vicious enough to harm a child. They are confused when he starts walking their way. Chicken Comb approaches one of the men, who stammers in fear. He asks for a favor, pointing at the little girl and telling the man to give her another meal. The distributor stammers that everyone is only supposed to get one meal. Chicken Comb sternly tells him to give her his meal then. He places the tray of food in front of the stunned little girl. Her eyes widen in disbelief. The distributor is confused, wondering why he would give her his meal. He suddenly has a horrifying thought, believing Chicken Comb plans to feed her to death. He concludes that this is a slow form of torture and that the man is truly sick. The girl's caretaker rushes in, grabbing her and yelling for her to stand back. He confronts the group, demanding to know what they are doing to a young child. Chicken Comb is shocked by the accusation, asking what he ever did. The caretaker calls them awful thugs and decides to leave with the girl. The little girl looks back as her caretaker leads her away. Chicken Comb is initially shocked by the man's reaction. His shock quickly turns into an amused grin. The other members of the captain's group look on. The freckled girl tells Haru she knew it, observing that there are more guards now. The young man with black hair curses, wondering if he should just go find the jerk himself. Someone taps the young man on the shoulder. He turns to see Haru standing there. The freckled girl watches them. The lights in the room flicker. An old man snores as he sleeps. The freckled girl tosses and turns, unable to sleep. She spots the young man sitting alone in a corner. She quietly gets up and walks towards him. The girl is startled. The young man clenches her hand, revealing he was awake the whole time. He glares, asking what she was trying to pull and accusing her of attempting an ambush. She complains that his grip hurts and insists she was just there to talk. The young man skeptically repeats her words. She asks if he just doesn't enjoy conversation. The two stare at each other in silence. He angrily asks what she wants and what it has to do with him. The girl fidgets nervously. He smacks her hand away from his. She tells him to forget it, but he demands she get to the point. She sits down and asks why he always stays away from everyone. She guesses that it's because he's shy around other people. The young man retorts that her idea is ridiculous and questions why he should stay near his enemies. The girl is confused, repeating the word enemies. He confirms that all humans are his enemies and there's no need to be near them when they could attack at any time. The girl clarifies that she never intended to attack him. He doesn't believe her, saying she could easily be lying to his face. She tells him he can be suspicious of her all he wants. The girl asks why he doesn't at least make up with Haru. He asks who Haru is, and she specifies the blonde one, to which he replies they were never arguing. She asks if he's going to be friendly with her again. He responds that that's a different story. He states that Haru is also a human, and to him, no different than anyone else there. She reveals that Haru cries herself to sleep every night. She explains that while Haru thinks she can't be heard, she definitely can. She is sure Haru is going through something difficult, just like everyone else. She explains she just wanted to talk because she thought if Haru had a friend her age, things might get better. She is taken aback by his response. He calls it pathetic, stating that being sad is only for the weak. He tells her she should be planning a way to survive instead of being sad. She quietly asks if he has ever lost a loved one. A memory of chaos and destruction flashes by as he firmly answers no, vowing it will not happen in the future either. He tells her that he doesn't have any loved ones. He concludes that without loved ones, there is no reason to be sad. The girl reflects that it sounds like a lonely life. The young man looks away, seemingly considering her words. The girl smiles and tells him that if he dies, she will at least be sad for him. The young man is surprised by her words. He calls her statement ridiculous and declares that he won't be dying. He tells her that, for the record, he won't be sad when she dies. She chuckles and says that's fine. She is suddenly racked by a coughing fit. A sleeping man groans. She apologizes for talking too long and says she'll stop bothering him. She wishes him good night before leaving. He watches her go, a neutral expression on his face. He thinks to himself that she is a strange person. The woman with curly hair groans in her sleep, wondering what a girl has to do to get some sleep. He recalls that his initial goal was simply to find shelter. However, his plans were derailed when a man with spiky hair and his cronies took his picture, chuckling as they examined it. That photograph was his only clue to finding his mother. Now he's being beaten by the very men who took it. His captors taunt him, asking if he's enjoying himself. The thugs sarcastically claim they don't enjoy it at all. They insist it's merely punishment for him trying to leave before. Unfazed, the young man glares at them and challenges the leader to come and finish the job himself. The young man tells him to put the picture down and face him. The thug is taken aback, realizing the boy isn't scared of him. He seems to care more about the picture than his own safety. The thug, trembling with rage, threatens another baiting. The young man remembers his father once telling him that humans are born evil. Looking at the cruel faces before him, he finally understands. However, he also knows that this isn't true for everyone. He recalls a kind woman who was concerned after his beating. An older doctor also showed concern. The doctor had noted that his injuries weren't serious but insisted they should at least be disinfected. He had brushed off their worries, claiming it was nothing. He notices the food she brought. The woman approached with a tray, telling him it was his lunch. She explained that she wasn't sure when he would be back, so she had picked it up for him. Touched by her kindness, he started to thank her. He was interrupted by her coughing. When she asked what he was about to say, he turned away and dismissed it as nothing. As her coughing continued, a thought crossed his mind. He recalled her previous assurance that she never intended to attack him. He began to wonder if she had been telling the truth all along. He considered that perhaps he could trust her, even just a little. His thoughts were shattered by a sudden clang as she collapsed. She hit the floor with a thud. The young man cried out, trying to wake her. The doctor quickly determined her condition was not good and that she needed medicine. The doctor explained the problem. They had no medicine left and would need to go above ground to get more. The sick woman protested, saying she was fine and didn't want anyone risking their lives for her. The doctor urged her to stop talking, warning that her condition would only get worse without medicine. The young man anxiously asked the doctor what would happen if they couldn't get her medicine. The doctor looked worried. Before the doctor could reply, the thugs from before appeared, announcing that the captain wanted to see him. The spiky-haired thug sighed. He internally questioned why the captain always made him hold up the picture whenever he saw this kid. He mused that he could easily get rid of the boy even without the picture. He then ordered the doctor to get moving and treat the people outside. The doctor, looking back at the sick woman, refused, stating he couldn't do that right now. The thug angrily asked if the doctor was defying the captain's orders. The doctor frantically explained that he would attend to the other patients after treating this one. He stressed that she was in critical condition. Trying to de-escalate, the woman stood up and volunteered to go above ground for the medicine herself. The doctor called her idea nonsense, insisting she wouldn't survive in her condition. The thug then declared they should all go together. He remarked that they should have said so earlier. Suddenly, the thug stabbed the woman, callously stating he could have easily helped her that way. The doctor and the other onlookers watched in absolute horror. The young man's eyes widened in shock. The knife was pulled out. The woman collapsed to the ground with a thud. The doctor looked on in disbelief. The others stared in shock. The woman lay bleeding on the floor, a faint, pained smile on her face. The young man stared, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. He could feel it. He could sense the woman's life force. It was slowly fading away. His heart pounded in his chest as he questioned how this could be happening. His heart continued to beat like a drum as he wondered how humans could be so fragile. A strange energy began to swirl around him. The dying woman reached out and touched his hand, weakly asking him why he had such a long face. Stunned, he looked down at her. He could only reply that he thought she had said she wouldn't be sad if he died. Her life faded completely. Her hand fell from his, lifeless. The other captives watched the aftermath in silent terror. The doctor uttered a sound of disgust. The thug casually wiped the bloody knife on his sleeve, complaining that his hands were now dirty. The doctor, trembling with rage, demanded to know how he could end someone's life without an ounce of remorse. The doctor called him a monster. The thug laughed it off, claiming he had basically saved the doctor's life. He reasoned that if he had let her live, the doctor would have gone above ground with her, putting himself in danger, and they couldn't afford to lose a doctor over one dying woman. He continued his twisted justification, stating that if anything, she should be thankful, as this was a much better fate than being shredded alive by monsters. The young man stood over the woman's body, his face shadowed. Another thug chuckled, taunting him. He asked what had happened to his tough act. Slowly, the young man lifted his head. His eyes glowed with an intense cold fury. He stared down the murderer. His voice was low and menacing as he pointed out that the thug no longer had the picture. The thug looked around, surprised, realizing he must have dropped it when he took out his knife. The thug smugly asked what he was doing. As he looked for it, the young man knelt to the ground. The thug asked what he was doing. The young man didn't answer, instead getting into a low, predatory stance. He took a deliberate step forward. The thug sneered, asking if he was going to try and beat him up now. An explosion of motion followed. The young man became a blur of speed and fury. In an instant, he was face to face with the stunned thug, who could only answer with a simple affirmation. In the tense silence, Yunsu blinks slowly. The scene momentarily fades to black. His eyes snap open as the thug continues to mock him, asking if he's going to try and fight back now. In an instant, Yunsu explodes into action, delivering a devastating blow. As the knife he threw sails through the air, Yunsu is already moving, dashing toward a second, startled thug. He lands a powerful punch squarely on the man's face. With incredible force, he grabs the man and sends him flying with a powerful spinning throw. As the thrown knife begins its descent, Yunsu steps forward. He plants his foot with enough force to crack the ground beneath him. He lunges forward to continue his assault. He unleashes a brutal series of strikes on the dazed thug, leaving him wobbling before grabbing him by the collar. With perfect timing, he snatches the spinning knife from the air, twirls it into position, and slashes forward in one fluid motion. The other survivors can only watch in stunned horror as Yunsu holds the thug captive with the knife pressed against his throat. A single drop of blood drips from the blade pressed against the man's neck. Yunsu's eyes glow with a cold, merciless light. The life seems to drain from his terrified victim. His hand, gripping the man's collar, begins to quiver. A memory surfaces of the man's weakness. He recalls how the man couldn't even react to his ambush. Frustrated, Yunsu laments his own hesitation. He thinks that if he knew his opponent was so weak, he would have just taken the picture from the start. He's haunted by a memory of failure. His thoughts drift to what might have been had he acted differently. He believes that if he had been more decisive, none of this would have happened. A voice from his past echoes in his mind, urging him to kill his foe. The voice insists that he must show no mercy to a defenseless enemy and ensure they are dead. As his heartbeat thumps in his ears, he lifts the thug, ready to deliver the final blow. Just as he is about to strike, a voice cries out, telling him that's enough. Yunsu pauses, turning his head. He sees someone stepping forward to intervene. The doctor warns him that if he kills this man, there will be no turning back. Yunsu considers the weight of the doctor's words. The doctor asks incredulously if he's worried about the thug right now. The doctor quickly clarifies that's not what he meant. He tells Yunsu that his concern is for him. Surprised by this unexpected concern, Yunsu listens. The doctor clenches his fist and pleads for him to think about his actions. Yunsu looks at the man he holds and questions the need to kill him. He glances at his own reflection in the gleaming blade of the knife. He comes to a decision, concluding that it is not necessary. He recalls his former mentor's philosophy that beating an enemy to near death will make them too scared to fight back. The mentor had called his hesitation a weakling mindset. The mentor had then asked if he was afraid of killing a person. Yunsu remembers firmly denying any fear. In the memory, Yunsu points at his mentor, vowing never to become like him. He declares that even if the apocalypse comes, he will find his own way to survive. He refuses to become someone who brutally kills everyone in their way. Back in the present, he releases the thug. He lets his knife fall to the floor with a clang. His hand trembles from the ordeal. The doctor smiles with relief, telling him he made the right choice. Yunsu tells the doctor his decision was not for his sake. He explains that he simply did not want to stoop to his enemy's level. He also states that he had no real reason to kill him. He thinks of the woman who died, telling himself her fate does not matter to him. He rationalizes that even if she were alive, she would have been no help in finding his mother. He tries to convince himself that he does not care. The first thug he defeated sees an opportunity, grabbing a pipe and charging at the now unarmed Yunsu. The thug swings wildly, but Yunsu reacts instantly. He pulls the jacket off the second thug, using it to deflect the blow and pull his attacker off balance. Using the momentum, he spins and slams the second thug into the first before delivering a final decisive punch. The attacker crashes to the floor, unconscious. A third man, who had been watching from the sidelines, nervously glances at a nearby door. He reaches into his pocket. Yunsu notices and demands to know what he's doing. The man pulls out Yunsu's treasured photograph. The man identifies the photo as one of Yunsu's prized possessions. In response, Yunsu gives the unconscious thug a kick. He takes a menacing step forward, asking what of it. The man falls silent, intimidated. Terrified, the man quickly wipes the photo clean. He blows the dust off of it. He then hands it back, meekly telling Yunsu to keep it safe. The man's hand trembles as he holds the photo, revealing a note on the back that reads, "Your mother is alive." The other survivors step forward. They gather around the body of the woman who was killed. Yunsu looks on. One of the survivors notices Haru and the little girl are gone, and the doctor explains they went to the bathroom. He expresses relief that they did not have to witness the atrocity. Another survivor calls out to Yunsu. He angrily demands to know why Yunsu stayed quiet when he could have easily defeated the thugs. Yunsu explains that the thugs had taken one of his possessions hostage. The man scoffs at the idea of a scrap of paper being important. Yunsu's intense reply that it was very important silences him. Holding his photo, Yunsu turns to the group and asks for their help. He shows them the picture. None of them recognize the location or the strange flower depicted in it. He asks if anyone knows where the picture was taken, explaining it is why he is asking them all. One man notes the difficulty of identifying it without the internet. The doctor asks why he wants to know the location in the picture. Yunsu states the obvious, he is going to go there. The survivors are shocked by his declaration. The doctor tries to warn him of the monsters above ground, saying it will be difficult to survive. But Yunsu cuts him off, confidently stating that he is wrong and that he can and will survive. Yunsu thinks to himself that it is all right. He did not expect to find anyone who could recognize the location in his picture so soon. A memory surfaces of a man, Ye-Yong Kim, appearing in a doorway, and Yunsu realizes how the events unfolded. In the flashback, Ye-Yong stares annoyed. He thinks about how he had told his underling to guard the picture. He laments that the man could not even follow through with such a simple order. He pats Yunsu's shoulder, reassuringly telling him it is fine. Ye-Yong slips the photo into his own pocket. He tells Yunsu that now he will have to resort to more effective methods. The scene shifts to the desolate, ruined city above ground. A rubble-strewn alleyway stands between crumbling buildings. A monstrous creature appears, sniffing at the ground. The creature stalks through the ruins. The view descends into the darkness of the underground, settling on the entrance to a subway station. One person expresses relief, noting they have enough fuel for a fire and can finally cook some real food. As a lighter clicks, a fire springs to life. A man excitedly urges someone to fan the flames, but a weary-looking blonde girl curtly tells him to do it himself, stating that she is busy. The blonde girl is approached by a small, frowning girl with a bow in her hair. The little girl complains loudly about how gross everyone is for not flushing the toilet. The blonde girl awkwardly tries to explain that the toilets probably do not work anymore. Their conversation is cut short by a man with a bandaged head who tells them they took long enough and that he needs to send them back. The blonde girl looks away, asking him not to look at her that way and muttering that she is just trying to survive too. Across the station, a man stirring a large pot over the fire notices the confrontation, remarking that an argument is going on. The man's companion asks if he just put something into the pot, but the man dismisses the question and tells him to keep stirring. He briefly wonders if he was just imagining things. Suddenly, their stew is pelted by rocks falling from above, startling the man. The man panics, questioning why rocks are falling from the ceiling. The ceiling begins to crackle and break apart. A monstrous worm-like creature with glowing eyes bursts through and looms over the terrified men. A man recalls a time before the world was overrun, thinking about how some people were just built differently, like complete monsters. He smirks at the irony of the situation. He considers how the world is now crawling with actual monsters. One of the man's subordinates urgently warns his captain to be careful, explaining that the kid they are facing is much stronger than he thinks. In response, the captain swiftly punches his subordinate. The captain dismisses the advice, stating he does not need it from a weakling. His attention is fixed solely on a young boy with intense green eyes. Taking off his jacket, the captain tells the boy to wipe the smug look off his face, threatening to teach him a lesson. The boy's eyes widen as he thinks that perhaps now he will be able to see. The boy wants to see what lies in the depths of the captain's abyss. The captain's perspective shifts as he reaches out, seemingly peering into a deep void. The captain leans closer, entering the darkness. He finds himself surrounded by darkness, peering into the void. His eyes widen in shock at what he sees. He realizes with dawning horror that he was wrong. It was not him who was looking into the boy. Instead, he finds himself trapped within a vast, dark and hairy abyss. He understands now that it was the other way around. Something was looking into him. The abyss reveals itself to be the giant maw of a terrifying creature. The vision shatters and the captain snaps back to reality, screaming in pure terror. The captain collapses to the floor, panting heavily. His crew watches in stunned silence. The boy stands opposite him, his face obscured by shadow, only his glowing eyes visible. A powerful aura rumbles from the boy. The captain gulps, realizing in his terror that he had almost been eaten alive. The onlookers are paralyzed with fear. The captain's hand quivers uncontrollably. A woman in his crew realizes with shock that their powerful captain is afraid of the boy. The tense standoff is interrupted by a commotion. A man covered in blood stumbles through a doorway, crying out for help and claiming that he cannot see. The crowd murmurs, shocked to see him covered in blood. Another survivor wonders what is going on, mentioning that he was just taking a nap. The injured man's head throbs behind his cracked glasses. The man groans that his head has been pounding. He feels something on his head and questions what it is. He looks around in a panic, wondering if there is a monster nearby. He frantically pulls at his head, realizing that there is something attached to him that will not come off. A small, furry creature detaches from the man's head. It lands on the floor with a soft thump. The horrified crowd looks on. The man's glasses crackle and shatter. A dark tentacle erupts from his eye, shooting past him and stabbing another survivor in the chest. As people scream that it is a monster, a gray-haired man steps forward and grabs the tentacle. He delivers a powerful punch, causing the infected man's head to explode. The body falls to the ground. Another man grabs a weapon, but the gray-haired man is faster, smashing the creature with a decisive blow. He brutally stomps on the creature's remains, ensuring it is dead. He then turns to face the other survivors. The group stares at the mangled remains of the creature. One of them notes that it has stopped moving, while the man with the weapon watches cautiously. One of the survivors exclaims in shock that their captain just killed a monster. The captain himself looks shaken, wondering where the creature could have come from. The group expresses their relief, believing they are safe. They cheer, proclaiming they always believed their captain would save them. Meanwhile, the boy from the earlier confrontation watches them with an unreadable expression. The captain remains tense and on edge. Nearby, a woman with blue hair holds up another one of the small, furry creatures with a sinister grin. A large, sealed container clangs open, releasing a cloud of steam. Inside, the silhouettes of the survivors are visible. A large, monstrous form begins to crawl out from the container. The nearby survivors stare in disbelief. A much larger, more grotesque version of the creature emerges, looming over them. Perhaps it was because they had spent so many peaceful days hidden away down here. But it was clear that in that moment, everyone had forgotten. They stared in horror at the grotesque creature on the ground, a brutal reminder of the world outside. No, it wasn't that they had forgotten. They wanted to forget the chaos and the running. They wanted to forget the feeling of gripping a weapon in desperation. They wanted to forget the faces twisted in terror. They wanted to forget the friends and family they lost. They wanted to forget. They wanted to forget the sheer horror of their reality, embodied by the monstrous creatures that now ruled the world. A survivor holds a bat, ready for the fight ahead. The crowd recoils in terror. Their screams echo through the station. Amidst the panic, a determined voice roars for them to fight back. The captain stands before the panicked survivors, asking if they intend to run away forever. He asks if they wish to repeat the atrocities that have happened to them. He then lifts his hammer to face the creature. The captain rallies them, stating that there is only one monster this time. He declares that this is different, and if they all band together, they can win. A change sweeps through the group. Whether it was because they saw how easily the other monster died or because they were moved by his words, they started to believe. Someone points out that they just saw the captain take down that other monster. Another survivor shouts that there is nowhere to run anyway. They grab weapons, agreeing that the captain is right. They agree that they need to band together to kill the monster. Regardless of the reason, they all came together. They told themselves that they did not need to cower in fear in the presence of these monsters. They clenched their fists, resolved. Ever since the monsters appeared, this was the first time that they had hope. A woman eagerly tells the captain to just give them the orders. But their newfound hope quickly turns to confusion as the captain stands frozen, blood dripping from his nose. The group calls out his name, their voices filled with uncertainty. The captain's heart pounds in his chest. He suddenly collapses, his weapon falling from his grasp. Something forces its way out of his mouth. Horrifying, root-like tendrils erupt from his mouth. His body transforms into that of a monster. The survivors are stunned into silence, questioning what they are seeing. They thought the captain had killed the monster, but now he has become one. A woman realizes with dawning horror that the creature is regenerating and cannot be killed. As the group shudders, they understand the terrible truth. Their hope is extinguished, replaced by the crushing realization that there is no way they can beat them. The transformed captain explodes into a rampage. He splatters one of the survivors against a wall. A man's head flies through the air. A woman is stunned by the sight. She watches as the monster dashes toward her. A man tries to shout a warning but is swiftly taken down. The monster then grabs a woman, who struggles and begs to be let go. The creature clenches its fist, crushing the woman in its grasp. Her body goes limp. Blood gushes forth, splattering across the horrified faces of the remaining survivors. The massacre continues. The survivors are violently overwhelmed. From a nearby doorway, a lone figure watches the carnage. The last cries for help fade as the survivors realize they are doomed. A man with a mustache panics, believing it is only a matter of time before the monsters come for them. He is struck by a brief, haunting image of a little girl. A man in a lab coat grabs Yoon-soo Seon's arm. He asks what Yoon-soo is doing, who demands to be let go. Yoon-soo frantically explains that the little girl is out there, and he needs to hurry and find her. The man poses a chilling question: what if the monsters came in from the station entrance? The terrible implication washes over Yoon-soo. He can only whisper in denial. He mutters "not again," as the weight of his past failures comes crashing down. He collapses in despair. Yoon-soo looks up from the floor, confused. He asks where the other man is going. The lone observer from the doorway turns to leave. The young man steps out into the chaotic, red-lit corridor. The others watch in shock. The man in the lab coat runs after him. The older man calls out, trying to stop him. But the young man walks calmly towards the danger. He ventures into a nightmarish landscape filled with the twisted, shadowy forms of monsters. From the relative safety of the doorway, Yoon-soo and the older man watch as the young man disappears into the darkness. From the shadows of a doorway, the gruesome scene is revealed, a grotesque creature consuming its victim. A young woman desperately tries to silence the crying child, warning that her sniffles will get them caught. She apologizes to the child, admitting she doesn't have the capacity to care for anyone else in their dire situation. Another survivor despairs, knowing that while the chaos allowed them to find this hiding spot, they cannot stay forever and will be killed if discovered. The little girl gently tugs on the young woman's sleeve. The young woman's expression changes from frustration to concern. She takes the little girl's hand, telling her to stay close. They look out at the body of a fallen survivor. A man with a bandaged head stares in terror. The young woman asks him what they should do now. She insists they have to run. He counters her desperation with hopelessness, asking where they could possibly go when there's nowhere left to run. She argues that the destination doesn't matter, as long as they can survive. The man reminds her that they fled underground because monsters were everywhere on the surface, but now their supposed safe haven has been breached. He questions if she truly believes they have even the slightest chance of survival. Refusing to give in to despair, the young woman declares that they cannot just sit and wait for death. She is determined to survive no matter what it takes. With a gleam of determination in her eye, she reiterates her will to live no matter what happens. The man is taken aback by her resolve. He remarks that she must have a strong reason for wanting to stay alive. She is left momentarily speechless by his observation. Their conversation is abruptly cut short by the appearance of a grotesque monster. The man's newfound contemplation shatters into terror, and he urges the others to run away as they all freeze in fear. Instead of fleeing, the man with the bandaged head dashes forward and embraces the monster, shouting for the others to run. He declares that he has no reason to live anymore. Turning to the two girls, he begins to tell them something. He sees them already dashing away to safety. The man sarcastically laments that they didn't even stay to listen to his heartfelt speech. As the young woman screams in terror, a figure suddenly swoops in and smacks the monster with an axe, interrupting the grim scene. A woman with glasses joins the fray, frantically stabbing the creature. She is horrified by what she sees. Her attacks are futile, as the monster's wounds instantly begin to regenerate. The monster retaliates, grabbing one of the attackers. The woman with glasses collapses against a wall. She is overcome with despair as she concludes that they cannot win this fight. A young man with black hair calmly walks past the despairing woman. Other survivors watch in confusion, wondering what he is doing and where he is going. Meanwhile, another survivor is impaled by monstrous tendrils. He approaches a massive, tentacled creature. The woman with glasses watches in disbelief, wondering if he has a death wish. She remembers that not even their strong leader, the captain, was able to defeat these creatures. The young man proves to be surprisingly agile, sliding under the monster's sweeping attack and pulling its tendrils with immense force, causing them to crack. Using the creature's own limbs as leverage, he leaps high into the air. He lands before another monster that has an old man ensnared. With a decisive move, he grabs a tendril and rips it away, freeing the captive. The young man walks forward with a quiet intensity. He tears the creature's tendrils apart. Yunsu Xian and the woman with glasses watch from a distance, completely stunned that he stopped the monster. The woman remains skeptical, pointing out that the captain also defeated a monster before it regenerated. As if on cue, the defeated monsters begin to stir and reform. The young man now finds himself surrounded. The hulking creatures stomp towards him. He casually tosses aside the remains of one monster. Another monster charges, its massive tooth-filled maw wide open. He deftly sidesteps the charging beast, delivering a powerful blow that sends it crashing to the ground. He then leaps over its fallen body to face the next threat. He spins and grabs an axe embedded in a monster's hide, pulling it free. A gush of the creature's blood splatters across his face, causing him a moment of surprise. Without hesitation, he swings the axe at another monster. The monster retaliates with a powerful blast. The onlookers, including Yunsu, cry out in alarm, fearing the worst. From the swirling dust, the young man emerges, alive and defiant. The survivors are in disbelief that he is still alive. They cannot comprehend how he survived such an attack. They recall their own futile efforts. They remember how they were no match for the monsters. They remember the horror of the monster's constant regeneration. Attempting to fight against these beings was a death wish. They were witnessing one young boy fight the seemingly invincible monsters on his own. A voice explains that in this world, there is no such thing as a living being that does not die. The voice continues, stating that every living being has a source. This source is what gives it life. The other survivors watch, mesmerized, as this new reality unfolds. The voice instructs that the source is the target. As the young man fights, he begins to perceive this source, a glowing core of energy within the monster. He now knows where to find the source of the creature's life. His eyes focus on a single point. He sees a small seed connected to a network of energy within the earth. Once he finds it, his goal is clear: destroy it. He must rid the world of the seed that gives the monster life. He prepares to strike the glowing seed with his axe. He focuses all his energy into the attack. The monster's tendrils converge on the axe, trying to stop him. The seed is destroyed and the creature dissolves. The young man pants, exhausted but victorious. All that remains of the once terrifying monster is a small, inert stone on the tiled floor. The survivors stare in abject terror at the scene before them. An older man's face, slick with sweat, is a mask of pure horror. A survivor wonders aloud if the monster is finally dead. Nearby, a young girl with light hair is pulled away, her face streaked with tears of fear. The brief moment of hope shatters as the girl spots another monster charging down the hall. She cries out a warning as she's dragged away, her eyes wide with panic. Her heart pounds in her chest as she flees for her life. With incredible agility, she plants a foot on the wall and leaps, vaulting over the grotesque creature that blocks her path. She lands hard on the floor with a thud. The monster turns its gaze upon her. Paralyzed with fear, she can only feel her own frantic heartbeat. Her vision begins to swirl with terror. Her world dissolves into a dizzying vortex of darkness. Footsteps approach her. In a chaotic blur, she is grabbed and spun around. She is sent flying with a powerful blow. One of the survivors cries out in shock. The young woman hurtles past the group through the air. She slides to a rough stop on the floor. She pants heavily, shaken but miraculously alive. One of the men cries out in relief, exclaiming that she's alive. He notes with thankfulness that she doesn't seem to be injured. The survivors approach her cautiously. The girl's relief quickly turns to alarm as she remembers something. The man with glasses echoes her thoughts, asking what happened to the little girl. Kneeling on the ground, she desperately asks where the little girl is, flinching at the horrible possibilities. The group screams in horror. They spot the missing child Haru, all alone in a desolate room, calling out for help. Haru takes a step forward. The man with glasses reaches out in a panic. His face is a mask of terror. A horrifying, one-eyed monster materializes in the doorway, directly behind the unsuspecting child. The man rushes toward her as the other girl watches, frozen in fear. The monster's sharp claws loom dangerously close to the little girl's head. Suddenly, a man with a mohawk lets out a furious battle cry and intervenes, landing a powerful punch on the creature. The survivors watch in stunned silence. The mohawk man grabs Haru and slides them both out of harm's way. He stands between the monster and the others. He roars at it to get lost before he gouges its eyes out. The creature slithers away. He wonders aloud if the creature really left because it was scared of him. His moment of confusion is cut short by the sound of another fight nearby. An older man in a white coat tells him that's not the case, asking if he saw the other fight on his way. He explains that the only reason they're all safe is because of that battle. The reason is that another monster is being fought and is currently screaming in agony. The black-haired young man delivers a powerful blow to a monster. He catches his breath, noting that's two down. However, he senses the fight is not over yet. Another monster swings at him. He slides to a stop, narrowly avoiding the attack. Two more creatures appear, surrounding him. He laments that if not for this ambush, the shelter would have been safe. Now he realizes he's up against three more. He recognizes this fight will be unlike the last two. There are no blind spots for him to take advantage of now. He knows that if even one of his attacks misses, it could lead to certain death. On top of that, there's no telling if more monsters are on their way. Feeling his energy levels drop, he knows he is at a disadvantage. He concludes that prolonging the fight will only lessen his chances of survival. He considers just running away. It wouldn't be difficult to escape and find another safe place to hide from the monsters, but he realizes that without him, all of the other survivors will die. He asks himself what that has to do with him, believing he has no reason to fight for them. He tells himself that humans are his enemy. But a memory of a girl's gentle smile flashes through his mind. The memory causes his resolve to waver. A monster lunges from behind, taking advantage of his distraction. He realizes too late that he let his guard down. The creature's claws rip into his back. He is thrown to the ground with a heavy thud. He quivers in pain on the floor, badly wounded. The monster stalks toward him. The injured youth watches as the monster approaches. A heavy boot suddenly steps into the frame. The man with the mohawk now stands between the injured youth and the creature. The mohawk man says that everyone else filled him in. He states that he heard the young man knows how to kill these things. The injured young man looks up at his unexpected ally. The man with the mohawk breaks into a wide grin. He declares the situation perfect and with a confident smile asks how he can help. The injured young man looks up at his unexpected ally. The man with the mohawk breaks into a wide grin. The mohawk man declares the situation perfect and asks how he can help. He readily grabs a makeshift shield. Another survivor, a man with glasses, steps forward and also volunteers to help. The black-haired youth is stunned, finding it unbelievable that humans would offer him aid. The youth questions why they would help. He believes that humans are the enemy and have no reason to help him. The Mohawk man retorts that the reason is obvious, shouting that they all want to live. The man with glasses calmly explains that if the youth is killed by the monsters, there will be no hope left for them. He reaches out a hand, pleading for the youth to let them help. The offer leaves the young man momentarily stunned. The tension hangs in the air as the man with glasses waits for an answer. The youth's hand twitches with indecision. He pulls his hand back, thinking to himself that he cannot trust humans. He believes they are willing to do anything to stay alive. Despite his deep-seated mistrust, a part of him hesitates. Finally, he relents, instructing them to divert the monster's attention. He reasons that as long as they all share the goal of survival, they have no reason to betray him. A monster roars and charges towards them. The group readies for battle as the creature approaches. The youth knows he is badly wounded and must end the fight quickly. He dashes forward, dodging an incoming attack. He lands a powerful blow on one of the creatures. The Mohawk man successfully taunts another monster, drawing its attention. Seizing the opportunity, the youth identifies his first target and lunges towards it. He sprints towards his target. The creature's central eye begins to glow, preparing to fire a beam of energy. The monster unleashes a massive energy beam, forcing the youth to slide and deflect the blast. He pushes forward again, dashing towards the monster. The creature fires a volley of smaller energy projectiles. He weaves through the barrage of projectiles. Getting in close, he lifts his weapon high and brings it down in a powerful arc. He grabs onto one of the creature's tendrils. He uses its momentum to spin through the air and position himself for a final strike. The maneuver places him directly above the monster's vulnerable central eye. With his target in sight, he prepares to plunge his weapon down. He thrusts his weapon downward, but to his shock, he misses the creature's core. The monster immediately prepares to counterattack. He recoils in horror, realizing his fatal error. The monster fires its energy beam at point-blank range. The man with glasses leaps in front of the youth, absorbing the full force of the attack with his shield. The shield shatters under the immense pressure, but it successfully dissipates the beam. The youth watches, his expression hardening with renewed determination. Moving with renewed speed, he closes the distance and strikes true, shattering the monster's core. Meanwhile, watching from a distance, two other survivors admit they'd only be a hindrance in the fight. The monster's body writhes for a moment before collapsing into a lifeless heap. The onlookers stare in stunned silence. A woman with a ponytail approaches the corpse of a tentacled monster, quivering as she states it killed her captain. Nearby, the black-haired youth stands guard, his weapon still glowing. The man who shielded him approaches, asking if he is injured anywhere. The Mohawk man is startled by the strange remains of the monster. The Mohawk man is amazed by the outcome of killing the monster. He demands to be taught how to fight back, and the youth explains that the creatures have a weak spot. When asked how to find the weak spot, the youth simply tells him to focus. The Mohawk man immediately guesses it is the head, but the youth quickly tells him he is wrong. The man with glasses realizes that if the youth is the only one who can see the weak spots, their jobs have become easier. He proposes a plan to lure the monsters into attacking them, creating an opening for the youth to strike. The Mohawk man vehemently rejects the plan and recklessly dashes forward, shouting that he wants to get some kills too. The other two are left shocked by his impulsiveness. The man with glasses is forced to engage one monster. Meanwhile, the Mohawk man charges another. The youth acknowledges that having others help has made fighting much easier. The Mohawk man taunts a creature to attack. The youth cries out for him to wait. The Mohawk man attempts to block a heavy blow, but his bat shatters on impact. He is sent flying into a wall. The youth thinks to himself that he should have dodged, concluding that humans are simply too weak. The man with glasses braces himself, thinking that he is built differently. He knows he must end this quickly as another monster lunges at him. The youth unleashes a strange, dark energy, dispatching the monster attacking the man with glasses. He sees only one creature remaining. As he prepares to finish it, he pauses. He suddenly remembers there was another monster. The woman with the ponytail is lying motionless on the ground, ensnared by the tentacles of the creature. A small, grotesque monster with a wide grin perches on her body. Its blue-veined limbs dig into the flesh. A bloody hand clenches into a fist on the ground. The small monster crackles as if being crushed. The monster continues to crackle under pressure. Elsewhere, a woman's body wriggles as dark tendrils consume her. A young woman with blonde hair watches as a large, shadowy monster looms over a fallen person. The monster lunges forward with incredible speed. The blonde-haired woman is enveloped in a web of glowing energy tendrils seemingly emanating from a device she holds. She looks on in shock as the tendrils connect to a phone. Suddenly, a muscular young man appears, pointing a gun at her. The small, round monster from before falls to the ground. The youth looks weary and injured. He collapses onto the floor beside another body. The room is a scene of carnage, with bodies strewn across the floor. The exhausted youth lies on the ground, staring at the small, defeated monster. In a void-like space, a hand reaches out towards the strange, round object. The hand touches the object. His consciousness fades into darkness. A voice from the darkness urges the young man to hold on. Someone notes his wounds are too severe and that he needs immediate treatment. Another voice expresses disbelief that he could fight in his condition. Someone offers to help. Later, the young man rests, his wounds bandaged. He soon sits up, drinking from a cup, seemingly recovered. He awakens with a groan, finding the blonde-haired girl sitting beside him. An older man, a doctor, approaches in surprise, calling it a miracle that he is already awake and asking how he feels. The girl informs him he was asleep for 2 days, and he wonders if the doctor applied his bandages. He rips the bandages off his chest. The doctor cries out for him to wait. He pulls the bandages away, and is stunned to find the youth's wounds have completely healed. The youth calmly stretches, as the doctor marvels that he has never heard of someone healing so quickly, in just 2 days. The man with glasses springs up from his bed, relieved and exclaiming he was worried the youth wouldn't make it. The man with glasses formally thanks the youth for saving all of them. The youth turns away, stating that there is no need for thanks as he was also fighting for his own survival. He then asks about the other man who fought with him, wondering if he is dead. The man with the mohawk shouts that he's very much alive. He tries to boast about his sturdy body, but is cut short by a painful cough. The man with glasses also thanks the mohawk man but questions why he helped, to which the mohawk man replies that he just wanted to. The man with glasses is confused, as he had thought the mohawk man was one of the bad guys. The mohawk man is taken aback, asking why he would be considered a bad guy. The man with glasses stammers, explaining that he thought he was a subordinate to the thugs they encountered earlier. The mohawk man vehemently denies having anything to do with those jerks. He clarifies that the thugs just assumed he was a lackey. He insists that he does not serve anyone. The man with glasses remains skeptical, pointing out that he looks dangerous, while the mohawk man defends his appearance as his personal style. The youth dryly asks if his chicken comb hair is part of that style. The man indignantly retorts that it is called a mohawk. The blonde girl asks the youth if he is feeling better. He questions why she is sleeping there when she does not appear to be injured like the others. The girl, Haru, snaps back, offended by his attitude after she had been worried about him. The doctor steps in, telling the youth he should be thankful to Haru, who stayed by his side the entire time to help treat his wounds. Flustered, Haru denies it, shouting that she wouldn't help a jerk who doesn't even remember her name. The mohawk man points, explaining he was just helping the doctor, and the youth acknowledges that he remembers him. The mohawk man excitedly turns his attention to Haru, praising her awesome performance from the other day. He recounts how he saw her running faster than anyone he'd ever seen, dodging monsters like the wind. The compliment triggers a painful memory for Haru, visualized as 2 hands separating. She lowers her head in the darkness. A memory of a cut flashes across her hair. Haru turns and walks away without a word, leaving the mohawk man confused. The youth watches her go. The mohawk man wonders what got into her, saying he was just giving her a compliment. The youth continues to watch Haru's retreating figure. As Haru sits alone, troubled, the youth observes her. A girl with freckles speaks up from her bed. She tells him he can be suspicious of her if he wants. The freckled girl then suggests that he should at least try to make up with Haru. The youth quietly repeats Haru's name. Haru looks over, startled. The youth confirms with her that Haru is her name. The youth and Haru face each other. After a moment of silence, Haru quietly confirms her name and walks away. A young man with a bowl cut and glasses addresses the remaining survivors. He solemnly reports that after the recent incident, only 12 people remain in the station, a drastic reduction from their original number of 43. The survivors are horrified by the statistic, with one man exclaiming that over 80% of them died, while another corrects the figure to 78%. The speaker, now wearing a mask, continues, stating that they discovered something strange while examining the bodies. He describes the corpses as having grey, lifeless complexions. He likens them to mummies that had died long ago. A woman with wavy dark hair says she knows why, explaining that she saw the monsters latch onto corpses and suck something from them, which disgusts another survivor. The wavy-haired woman then asks about the origin of the monsters, mentioning rumors of government experiments. Another survivor adds that she heard they just fell from the sky one day. Haru wonders aloud if this means the creatures are aliens. Before the discussion can continue, an older man with a mustache interjects, stating they have a more important matter to discuss. He directs everyone's attention to the black-haired youth, who sits alone. The survivors look on with a mix of fear and curiosity. They begin to question him, asking how he is able to fight so well. They also ask how he knew how to kill the monsters. As Haru looks on, the youth finally speaks. He reveals that ever since he was born, he has been training and preparing for the apocalypse. A young man with dark hair and wide, green eyes begins to process what he has just been told. He confirms with a woman holding a creased photograph that it is the only thing he brought from the underground bunker. The woman, with her arms crossed, begins to express her doubts. The black-haired youth listens, as the woman states that the photo alone isn't enough to make her believe his story. She points out that he could have easily fabricated his claims. She continues, listing his claims of living in a bunker his whole life and knowing the apocalypse was coming. The youth's silhouette darkens as he realizes they don't believe him. The woman continues speaking. Recalling his recent battle, the woman acknowledges that he proved he is a great fighter. With a sarcastic tone, she adds that she is sure everyone now believes him. Suddenly, a man with curly hair and glasses shoves the youth out of the way. The curly-haired man exclaims in shock that he really dodged that. The curly-haired man quickly backpedals, apologizing and saying he now believes the youth was trained in a bunker. An older man in a lab coat then intervenes, stating that he also believes the youth's story, especially after seeing his scars while treating him. The doctor reflects on the immense suffering the youth must have endured, stating that no ordinary person could have handled that amount of pain. A young woman with blonde hair then asks him what happened to cause so many scars. The youth explains that he got the scars from his repeated attempts to escape the underground bunker. The blonde girl remarks that it sounds awful. He calmly replies that it was not at all. He elaborates that his scars serve as proof that he was willing to fight and that he does not consider them painful memories. His explanation is cut short by an angry shout from another survivor who refuses to buy any of it. The man furiously questions why he kept his knowledge of the apocalypse to himself instead of warning others. The mustached man argues that if people had known ahead of time, they could have been better prepared. Internally, the youth recalls his father's words that humans are the enemy, concluding his father never intended to cooperate with them. The youth thinks to himself that he, too, does not trust these people. However, he remembers that they helped him. He reflects that while his father taught him humans are evil, this particular group does not seem so bad. The woman with wavy hair tells him that regardless, he is a very important asset to them. She adds that he is the only one there who knows how to kill the monsters. A man with a mohawk expresses his frustration, wishing he knew their weak spots so he could fight them too. Another man suggests that if the youth finds his mother, he might also discover vital information about the monsters. The mustached man scoffs at the suggestion, questioning the point of it all when they could die tomorrow. The world outside their shelter is desolate and dangerous. He explains that they have only been lucky so far because the entrance to their location was destroyed, making it harder for monsters to find them. To reach their shelter, one would have to navigate the dark passages of a ruined building. Past all the blocking debris. He continues that one must get past all the debris just to find the single entrance. He shouts that this luck is the only thing protecting them. He warns that there is no telling when more monsters could barge in and kill them. The man with the mohawk laughs, trying to look on the bright side by reminding everyone that at least they have lots of food. However, the food storage area has been completely destroyed by a cave-in. The mohawk man stares in disbelief, asking if this was the food storage. A voice confirms that it is not anymore. A man with glasses quickly grabs a single crushed can from the rubble before it is all lost. Episode 18 begins, titled Search for Sustenance. With their food gone, the doctor addresses the group, stating they will need to send a team outside to look for food and asking for volunteers. The Mohawk man enthusiastically volunteers, desperate for fresh air after being underground for over a week. However, the man with glasses points out that his wounds have not completely healed and offers to go instead. He is stopped by a jolt of pain from his own injury. The doctor tells the injured man to stay and rest, as it is still too early to remove his bandages. He glances around the room and realizes that the only person who has not been injured so far is a terrified-looking young woman. The mustached man declares that going above ground is a death wish and only a fool would go. The wavy-haired woman agrees. A hooded figure crosses their arms in silent accord. The doctor sighs, lamenting that their remaining supplies will barely last another week. Just then, the black-haired youth steps forward and declares that he will go. The doctor is surprised but relieved, thanking the young man. The youth says it is fine, as he wanted to go out anyway and wants to see if there are other people above ground. He also hopes to find someone who knows something about his picture. He adds that there might even be better places to make their home base. He leaps onto the escalator railing. He continues that most of all he needs to go because of his past experiences in the bunker. Staring up the long escalator towards the light, he admits that he hates being underground. As he prepares to leave, a voice calls out, announcing that they will join him. Two students step forward. A female student apologizes for not helping him during the earlier fight, explaining she was frozen in fear. She says that seeing him has pumped her up and made her want to be courageous, finding it inspiring that he, someone of a similar age, did not back down from the awful monsters. A male student agrees with her, adding that even with the advantage of being trained to fight, the youth still risked his life to protect them. The youth flinches slightly, remarking that if he were in their position, he would have just run for the hills. The doctor then asks if anyone else will volunteer. The doctor's gaze falls on the blonde girl. He calls her name Haru. She just stands there quivering in fear. The doctor realizes that perhaps he is asking too much of her. Meanwhile, the two students turn to the youth and ask if he is ready. The students look at him with an awkward expression. Confused, he asks what the matter is. They hesitantly ask if he is really going to go out dressed like that, suggesting he should probably wear something. The woman with wavy hair approaches and offers him a new shirt, explaining she made it for him while he was asleep. He looks surprised, questioning how she made him a new shirt. She tells him to consider it an honor, revealing that she is actually an accomplished designer. She wistfully adds that people used to line up for a chance to try on her pieces. But that will not be happening again with humanity gone. This triggers a memory for the youth. He recalls asking his father why he always had to wear the exact same clothes after his old ones ripped, having read that humans above ground wore many different things. His closet was filled with identical outfits. His father had told him not to be sad about it, as he also wore the same thing. Back in the present, the youth tells the woman that one thing he always dreamed of doing above ground was wearing a different style of clothes. He smiles and sincerely thanks the human. The designer grins, pleased that her piece will be his first new outfit. She boasts that nothing he wears from now on will compare. As the group starts to head out, another woman tells them to hold on. It is Haru. She tells the youth she has something to ask him as he drops his shorts to change. Standing completely naked in front of his new companions, he turns and asks her what it is. A young woman with blonde hair stands before a shirtless, black-haired youth, her eyes wide with shock. Two other students gasp in horrified surprise. Another pair of students stare with open mouths, completely stunned by the scene. The blonde-haired girl's face is frozen in a state of utter shock and bewilderment. The blonde girl's face flushes red with embarrassment, her expression contorting in mortification as she processes the situation. Overcome with anger, Haru shouts at the youth, calling him a pervert as she throws a punch, but he easily dodges it, questioning why she's suddenly trying to hit him. In her haste, she loses her footing and slips, crying out as she falls. As she tumbles, another student notices a scar on her face. A loud thud echoes as she hits the ground. Haru is left on the floor, facing the shirtless youth. The youth looks on, still perplexed by her reaction. She remains on the ground, quivering from the encounter. She lifts her head and yells at him to get dressed first. He calmly agrees, muttering to himself that he seriously does not understand humans. Now fully clothed, the youth walks forward. Elsewhere, two men discuss how the monsters could have found their hideout, wondering if it was just a coincidence. A female student with glasses looks on with a surprised expression. She examines the remains of a small fire, realizing someone was cooking before the attack. She then spots a lighter in the ashes and excitedly claims it as her own. The black-haired youth explains that the monsters are attracted to fire, which is probably why they were attacked. The two men who were just discussing the matter are stunned by this new information. He warns everyone to avoid lighting any fires at all costs. The girl holding the lighter looks down at it with a new sense of dread as he cautions that the monsters are bound to strike again if they do. Haru looks down at her own hand, contemplating the warning. The girl with the lighter nervously offers it to Haru. She then quickly runs away. As Haru looks at the lighter, she suddenly remembers something. Just then, a boy with glasses approaches her, exclaiming that he knows her and identifies her as the track star from Gassing Middle School. Surprised, Haru asks how he knew. He confirms that he recognized her from somewhere. Haru explains that she recognized her by her scar. He adds that he thinks it looks cool how it peeks out when she runs. The comment causes Haru to clench her fist. The memory makes her turn away, her expression troubled. Haru touches the scar on her face. Her hand trembles as she clenches her fist. She thinks to herself that there is nothing cool about it. A flashback begins, showing a bright, bustling city. The memory shifts to a group of happy students. The flashback focuses on Haru's solemn expression, her hair hiding her face. In her mind, Haru believes the scar is merely proof that she is a coward. The story flashes back to the past, with the episode title Coward. Someone calls out her name, Haru, causing her to flinch. A car honks loudly nearby. Her parents wish her luck on her first day of middle school, expressing their love. Her little brother enthusiastically tells her to study hard. As her family loudly calls her name, she pulls her hood over her head in embarrassment. Other students stare and wonder who Haru is. The other students laugh as she dashes away from her family's car. Watching her go, her parents express their hope that she will adjust well. Her father reminisces about how she used to be a happy and energetic child, but after a traumatic incident, things changed. He explains she has become so anxious that even a normal day is a struggle. A flashback reveals a younger, terrified Haru being held at knife point by a shadowy figure. The flashback continues, showing her parents' horrified faces in a crowd. The attacker grins menacingly as he prepares to strike. Young Haru tries to fight back against her attacker. She is overpowered and falls to the ground. She looks up in terror at the shadowy figure looming over her. The image of her attacker with the knife becomes a monstrous, shadowy blur. Haru's terrified face is shown as the memory overwhelms her. The flashback culminates in the moment the scar is inflicted. The memory then shifts to a bandaged Haru waking from a nightmare, screaming in terror. Haru awakens in a hospital bed to the immense relief of her family. She is panting heavily from the nightmare. Her father embraces her, reassuring her that the man who attacked her is behind bars and she no longer has to worry. Despite his words, the terrifying image of her attacker lingers in her mind. The flashback returns to her first day of middle school, where Haru sits alone in the classroom, her long bangs covering her eyes. A cheerful classmate approaches her, trying to strike up a conversation about a scary movie she saw. Haru glances up from behind her hair. As Haru glances up, she sees a distorted, shadowy figure in the window's reflection. The sight causes her heart to pound with fear. Her classmate, oblivious, asks what she is scared of. Another student leans in, curiously asking what scares her the most. Haru contemplates the question. With a heavy heart, Haru states that she is scared of dying. Her blunt and serious answer leaves her classmates speechless and confused. The girl who asked the question awkwardly clarifies that she was just talking about horror movies. The scene shifts to a track and field practice where the coach starts his stopwatch and tells the next runner to line up. Haru looks distressed as two other girls whisper behind her back. Her head droops as the feeling of dread intensifies. She gets ready at the starting line. She thinks about how, ever since the day she got her scar, she constantly feels like someone is lurking nearby, waiting to kill her. She explains that in moments when her fear gets stronger, her vision goes completely blank. The starting pistol fires and the other runners take off, which is why she hates running. Her fear is palpable as she begins to run. Whenever she runs, the memory of her attack comes rushing back to her. Overwhelmed, she screeches to a halt. She abandons the race as the other runners continue on without her. The other runners speed past her, leaving her behind. She stops, panting and defeated. She tells herself that she is a coward. Despite stopping, the coach announces that she has set a new record. Her classmates are in awe of her speed. One of them asks if she has done track and field before, but she denies it. The coach, impressed by her raw talent, offers to give her special training and turn her into a track star. Haru hesitates, thinking about how running always brings back the memories of that day. After a moment of contemplation, Haru clenches her fist and agrees to the training. The scene shifts, showing her subsequent success through a display of trophies. A newspaper article highlights her record-breaking performances despite being new to the scene. Elsewhere, two men discuss her presence, with one confirming that the girl with the scar is indeed there. Later, while resting after a run, Haru greets someone. A reporter approaches, introducing himself as a star athlete and asking for a photo with her. Her coach encourages her to go ahead and take a picture with the reporter. The reporter expresses his admiration, telling her he's a huge fan. As he asks her to move closer for the photo, he places a hand on her shoulder, triggering a traumatic flashback and causing her to flinch violently. The reporter is left stunned and confused by her extreme reaction. Haru stumbles back in terror. The reporter scoffs, calling her a weird kid. Her coach apologizes to him, explaining that Haru can be strange sometimes. He adds that she is very jumpy, like a scaredy cat. From around a corner, Haru overhears the reporter mocking her, calling the track star an erratic, nervous wreck. Later, Haru's family is having dinner together. Her father complains about his phone's internet connection, and her mother gently reminds him of the no phones at the table rule. He then turns to Haru, asking how her meeting with the reporter went. Her younger brother expresses his surprise at her talent for running. Her father proudly adds that he now gets to see his daughter on TV. He then remarks that her talent emerged ever since the incident. Haru silently confirms this, thinking to herself that it was after that day she became good at running. She explains that whenever she runs, she thinks of that day, and her feet just start moving like the wind. She had hoped that by running competitively, she would get used to the fear. She thought she could grow out of being such a coward. However, clenching her fist, she feels that nothing has changed. She sits silently at the table, believing she is still a coward. Back in the present, Haru pulls on her hoodie. Her father's voice echoes in her memory, telling her she does not have to change a thing. He reassures her that it is okay if she is a coward. She disagrees, thinking that it is not okay. Memories of being judged by her peers flash through her mind. Haru argues that it is not okay, because being a coward is why people hate her. She recalls the reporter's cruel words about her being an erratic, nervous wreck. She believes he was right and that there is nothing normal about her. She tells her father to forget it. She insists that she is fine and he does not need to comfort her as they walk away together. Her father stops her and pulls her into a hug. He tells her he is telling her the truth, asking who cares if she gets scared. He reminds her that just because the incident happened, it does not mean she is not the same Haru she always was. Her father tells Haru that he and her mother love her more than anything in the world. He gently pats her head, telling her to know that it is okay not to hide anymore. He brushes her hair away from her face, revealing her scar, and tells her it is proof that she fought for her life and shows how truly brave she is. Tears fall from Haru's eyes. Overwhelmed by her father's words, she begins to cry. She thinks about how people hated her for being a coward and how she tried so hard to change herself because of it. She realizes that in her struggle, she never saw the people who would love and accept her no matter who she was. A warm memory surfaces of her family teasing her affectionately. She recalls her father's words, that there is nothing wrong with her, and that it is okay. As her brother gets his shoes on, her father makes a promise with Haru, asking that even if she thinks she is a coward, she will not cry. Through her tears, she agrees to the promise. Her mother then calls out that it is time for them to go. A cherished photo shows a smiling Haru with her father, but the happy memory is shattered by the sudden, violent collapse of their building, trapping her mother and brother in the debris. Her father watches in stunned horror as the world falls apart around them. Haru is also caught in the catastrophic collapse. She begins to run through the rubble. The city crumbles around her as the story is to be continued. In a desolate, ruined city, a colossal stone-like creature stands amidst the rubble, a silent testament to the world's end. Panting with exertion, a man strains to move a heavy piece of debris, the sounds of his struggle echoing in the ruins. The man continues his desperate effort to clear the rubble. Suddenly, a young girl with blonde hair appears behind him, calling out for her dad. He flinches in surprise. She steps closer through the ruins, asking what's happening and where her mom and Soil are. The girl, Haru, looks at her father in shock. She notices a trail of blood coming from his leg and cries out in alarm. As she dashes toward him, he screams desperately for her to stop and not come any closer. Haru's eyes fall upon a lock of blonde hair protruding from beneath the rubble, stained with blood. The horrifying sight brings tears to her eyes as she trembles in shock and grief. Overwhelmed, Haru collapses to her knees. Her heart pounds violently as fragmented, terrifying memories of the disaster flash through her mind. Her father's voice calls her name, urging her to run away while she still can. Haru looks up, her face streaked with tears and sweat, filled with despair. With his back turned to her, her father says he will stay behind to watch over her mom and Soil. Haru screams in protest, refusing his plea. She tells him she could never leave him behind. Crying, Haru tells her father that he is all she has left. Her father, resolute, thinks to himself that he is not running. He knows that if he were to flee now, he would never be able to forgive himself. Her father sees shadowy monsters chasing other survivors in the distance. He screams at them to get out of his way. Resolved, Haru stomps her foot, determined not to leave. She declares with finality that she is not leaving him. She watches as her father runs towards the shadowy figures, vowing to stay no matter what. As Haru watches, her heart pounds in her chest. Her father's body begins to glow with an intense light, and his form becomes indistinct. Haru's eyes, wide with terror, reflect the blinding light as her heart continues to pound. Her father is completely engulfed in the blinding light. Haru is thrown backward by the force of the event, screaming as she is consumed by darkness. The memory fades to black. Haru recalls her father's words, how he told her that it was okay to be a coward. She remembers him telling her that there was nothing wrong with her, but as she runs from the darkness, she thinks to herself that what he said just isn't true. Haru reflects on her past with regret. Despite her father showing her so much love, she still abandoned him and ran away. She remembers how, even after that, she kept running away, time and time again. Memories of leaving people behind flash through her mind as she walks with a new group of survivors. She remembers cowering alone in the dark. A black-haired youth approaches her. Haru recalls her past self, huddled and afraid. But now she stands up, making a new resolution for the future. The scene shifts to the present. A black-haired youth and his companions ride an escalator. He is startled by the ghostly image of a girl running past him. The image becomes real as Haru dashes up the escalator, panting. She stops before the group and, clenching her fists, declares that she won't run away again and will join them. With new determination shining in her eyes, Haru firmly states that she refuses to run away. The group, now including Haru, carefully makes their way through the city ruins. They slide down a collapsed structure. The black-haired youth signals for them to halt. A grotesque monster lurks nearby. Haru's heart pounds with fear. The group quickly ducks into a narrow passage. The youth assures them they are safe for now. The group breathes a collective sigh of relief, glad they escaped the monsters. The boy with glasses asks Haru about the map. The black-haired youth notices the paper in her hand and asks what it is, prompting Haru to explain their need for a map. The youth explains that having a map is as crucial as finding food for making future plans. Remembering his words, Haru had confidently volunteered, claiming she knew the neighborhood perfectly. Now, however, she realizes that with the city in ruins, her knowledge is useless. She thinks about how the familiar roads have become impassable due to the wreckage. The group examines their scavenged supplies. The youth observes that it's far less than he'd hoped for, considering how long they've been searching. The youth adds that with the summer heat and lack of electricity for 9 days, most of the food has likely spoiled. Hearing this, the boy with glasses suggests they should eat all the perishable food immediately. Another girl objects, insisting they should make that decision back at their base. The boy with glasses argues that the food will go bad anyway, and no new food will be made soon. He insists that since they risked their lives for it, they deserve to eat it. The girl still feels it's wrong, thinking of the others waiting for them. While the others debate, the black-haired youth simply starts eating a popsicle, declaring it delicious. His actions startle everyone into silence. The youth savors the taste, remarking that it's amazing, a stark contrast to the purely functional food from the bunker. He marvels at how wonderful eating can be. He then turns to Haru, recalling that they shared a pastry before. Haru chuckles, teasingly reminding him that when they first met, he didn't even recognize it was bread. She says she thought he was a complete bonehead, and the youth scoffs, annoyed by her comment. He hands her a stack of packaged food, stating that he no longer owes her. Confused, Haru asks what he's talking about. He's surprised she forgot their deal, but she playfully tells him that in return, he now has to pay her back with 4 times the amount of food. Haru warns him not to forget their new deal. Internally, the youth is bewildered, wondering if she truly forgot their original arrangement. He considers that perhaps she never intended for him to pay her back at all. He worries that her trusting nature could get her taken advantage of. He mutters about how foolish she is. Haru overhears and shouts back, telling him he's not one to talk. As the group prepares to move again, the youth gathers them. He gives a stern warning. While they are moving above ground, they must not let the monsters detect their presence under any circumstances. The moment they do, they will have no choice but to fight. He explains that while he can fight the monsters, the noise from the battle will inevitably attract others. This could lead to an endless onslaught of them. As they cautiously proceed down a narrow alley, a monstrous claw is seen gripping the edge of a building above. The youth suddenly stops. His eyes widen in shock at something ahead. He finishes his warning, stating that they need to be absolutely sure the monsters do not detect them. Just then, they look up to see a creature clinging to the wall directly above.